Welcome back. You and I are diving into a story where a girl blocks a prince's path, so please subscribe to the channel for more. Ariel is wandering through the capital one summer night when a mysterious young man crashes into her. She is definitely not the type to let an insult slide, so she demands a proper apology from this strange young man. Instead, he just tells her to get out of the way. She is fuming, but then armed assassins suddenly surround them. Realizing the boy is being hunted, the lead thug grabs Ariel by her hair to use as a shield for leverage. The young man starts reaching for his blade to protect her, but before anyone can react, our girl takes total charge. She delivers a massive uppercut that sends the boss flying. Talk about an unexpected knockout blow from a noble lady. While the thugs scramble to help their leader, the boy urges her to escape and alert the city watchman for help. But the enemies are getting serious now. She sees the boy is too injured to fight, so she steps in instead. It is less of a rescue and more of a total beatdown as she clears the alleyway all by herself with ease. Still in total shock, the boy asks for her name, but she just demands a thank you and an apology, which he ignores. To stop him from escaping, she puts him in a headlock. That is when she finally sees his striking face for herself. She is completely mesmerized by how handsome he is. I mean, can you and I really blame her for staring at him? The guy thinks she is a total creep, but eventually he thanks her and asks for directions to 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 manor. That is actually her home. When they arrive, she wakes the gatekeeper, who is used to her sneaking out late at night. But the moment he sees the young man's face, the guard freezes, bows deeply, and quickly ushers the two of them inside. Her casual attitude terrifies the guard, who realizes Ariel has absolutely no idea who she is actually talking to right now. The boy's condition is fading fast. Suddenly, the front doors burst open and her brother comes charging out in a total rage. He is about to yell at her for being late, but stops instantly when he recognizes the guest as Prince Siegfried. He was supposed to arrive by royal coach, but was ambushed. Ariel realizes she just saved the main lead of this story. Back in her room, she is wide awake and panicking because she cannot remember the exact plot of this novel. I know the feeling. Who can actually keep track of every single book they have ever read in their entire life? Ariel read this in her past life, but since it was not really her style, the memories are all quite fuzzy. Now pay attention, because she starts remembering the legend of Siegfried. This part is actually pretty important for us to know. Legend says the first emperor was blessed by the heavens with divine powers that were passed down through his royal bloodline. Over the long centuries, that royal blood grew thin, and the ancient magic began to fade away from the imperial family members. However, there is still one unmistakable mark of the true emperor's lineage, and that is the specific color of their eyes. Rare purple eyes, a trait that only the main character, Prince Siegfried, possesses in this entire kingdom of theirs. Siegfried is the empress's only child, while his rival, Asa, is the half-brother and the son of the emperor's mistress. Years ago, a mysterious fire destroyed the empress's palace and took her life. It was a tragedy that changed the whole nation. The loyal nobles demanded an investigation, but the emperor ignored them and gave the empress's crown to his mistress instead. Siegfried was only 10 years old when his world shattered, and Duke Blanche has been his only guardian ever since then. Now the prince is back to reclaim his throne. Ariel remembers that in the original book, she is his destined fiancée. Being dragged into a bloody war for the crown is the absolute last thing she wants to deal with in this life. A full week passes with Siegfried staying at their estate, but Ariel avoids him like the plague the entire time. She only sees the busy messengers coming and going from his guest wing. She wants no part of his royal world. Her peace is ruined when her maid kicks her out of her room to clean, telling her to go read elsewhere. She wanders to a quiet clearing behind the manor to relax, hoping for some much-needed silence and a good book to read. Then she spots Siegfried practicing his swordsmanship with a heavily bruised wrist. She tries to make a very quiet exit. She is not fast enough, though. The prince catches her eye, forcing her to give him a very awkward, polite greeting. He just stares back with a blank expression. She forced a smile and asked if he was doing all right today. As expected, he coldly dismisses her and says he is fine. He is definitely not the friendly type at all. She offers him a handkerchief for his injury, but he refuses. She remembers he is supposed to be a legendary hero. She decides to stay and watch him train. But the more she looks, the more she starts to feel quite confused. Trust me, this is where it gets weird. His skills are nowhere near what you would expect from a legendary knight. All right, you and I are diving into a royal mess where her rambling catches the prince's ear, forcing a panicked apology. As his old injury flares up, she warns him to see a physician before it worsens, but he just offers cold silence. He is being insufferable again. She can't grasp why he's so icy during only their second meeting of the day, but then, to her shock, Prince Siegfried simply dislikes her. There has to be a real reason for all this animosity, right? The brutally honest prince admits that back in that dark alleyway, he couldn't actually see her face clearly. But when they returned to the manor, and the candlelight hit her features, his chest felt tight and heavy for the very first time. He hates the feeling, but it's clear he's got butterflies. Meanwhile, our clueless lady thinks he's just feeling physically ill again. She assumes he's just unwell. These two are beyond hopeless. Later, Lady Ariel decides to just ask him straight out. She asks if looking at her still makes him angry. Surprisingly, it seems his hatred has finally started to melt away. He even apologizes for that night. They've grown close enough now for Ariel to finally ask the big question about his past. The prince reveals that an assassin tried to poison him. He's recovered slightly, but he's still far from his former peak strength. He can't even wield his blade properly. Seeing his struggle, Ariel offers to bandage his wrist, though he immediately tries to refuse. She ignores his protests, grabbing his arm and expertly tying her silk kerchief around his injured wrist. Siegfried is stunned by her. He's impressed by her skill. She explains she's spent years patching up her clumsy siblings, so this is second nature to her. Injuries were common in her house. As she turns to leave, the prince suddenly reaches out and grabs Ariel's hand, stopping her. Startled, she lets slip a commoner's curse word. The confused prince tries to repeat it until she frantically covers his royal mouth. Pay attention here, because she quickly asks if he finds her pretty, sending the prince into a flustered, blushing panic. He orders her away. That night, she dons common clothes and sneaks out to a local tavern for a quiet drink. Disaster strikes when she realizes her coin purse is missing. Suddenly, a handsome silver-haired stranger offers to pay for her ale. The catch: she has to keep him company for the evening. The mysterious young man introduces himself to her as Killian. When he asks for her name, she nearly slips up and says Ariel, before frantically changing it to Ella at the last second. He playfully combines them into Ariella. His strange accent tells her immediately that this man is definitely not from around these parts. Killian sees through her disguise, guessing she's a maid from the Earl's estate. He even mentions the rumors of the manor's beauty. He claims the lady of the house is as stunning as she is. Ariel grows wary of this stranger and his smooth talk. She sarcastically asks if he's already smitten. Undeterred, he begins prying about the royal guest currently staying at her master's estate. He's far too interested in the prince. People always gossip about the manor, but this man's questions feel far more calculated. He casually asks if there's a secret passage she uses to sneak out past the manor's heavy security. This guy is dangerous. Now, you and I both know that look. This guy is definitely up to no good, and Ariel realizes it too. After their drinks, he offers to walk her home. She refuses, and luckily, he doesn't push the issue and lets her go. He leaves her be, but as they part, Killian accidentally drops a leather scroll. Ariel picks it up to return it. She glimpses the contents and freezes. Realizing the danger, she quickly hands it back and flees before he notices her shock. Suddenly sober, she wonders why Killian is carrying a portrait of the prince. She rushes back to the manor in terror. She pounds on Siegfried's door, remembering her brother's warning that the prince had lost his fortune and was drowning in debt. She finally realizes Killian is a debt collector hunting for the prince's gold. She rushes to wake him at 2 a.m., but the prince is absolutely beyond furious. Right then, he slams the door, nearly catching her fingers. She tries to explain the dangerous man from the tavern, but he won't listen. He just thinks she's had too much ale and locks the door in her face. Her warning completely fails to land. Frustrated, she returns to her chambers. Now fully sober, she realizes Killian didn't actually drink a single drop at the tavern. She's piecing it together when a noise startles her. Suddenly, Killian vaults through her window and into her private room. He covers her mouth, silencing her. Despite the intrusion, he doesn't seem violent, so Ariel tries to keep her composure for now. They're both shocked by the encounter. Suddenly, the alarms blare as knights begin scouring the grounds for a deadly assassin. Before she can react, he's already vanished into the night. She alerts the guards, noticing blood smeared on the windowsill. The intruder was wounded. The next morning, she frantically seeks out her brother to find out what happened during the night. She arrives only to find the prince and her brother already deep in a serious discussion about the attack. And that's where we leave it, with a secret that's about to change everything for Our Lady as the prince catches her. Stick with me. You and I are diving into a royal mess where the assassin is Our Lady's favorite drinking buddy. After she describes him, 𝒂𝒅 apologizes for ignoring her warnings, and they all reach the same dark conclusion. Lady Beatrice is definitely behind the plot to have him killed, so the Duke offers extra guards for protection. Alara notices the prince smiling sweetly at the support he is receiving, and it looks like someone is getting smitten. Her brother offers her extra guards too, but Alara turns them down because it makes sneaking around much harder. 𝒂𝒅 persists, though, leaving her with no choice but to give in until Silas the assassin is finally caught and imprisoned. On top of that, she receives another thank you from him, which she playfully teases him about with a wide grin. 2 weeks of staying home has her dying of boredom, but that ends today with the Oakhaven Summer Festival starting up. It is a joyful event before the hunt for the Scorchbeast, a legendary monster that haunts the nearby woods every year. Her younger brother Julian stumbles in, likely home only after gambling away every single coin in his heavy velvet purse. Between a gambling addict and a drunkard, this family is quite the handful, but she focuses on her maid's festival prep instead. Her festival disguise is almost ready, and though she invites 𝒂𝒅, he absolutely hates noisy and crowded places like this. With her older brother busy, she plans to find some handsome knights on her own to pass the festive time today. The Duke reminds her to take bodyguards along, giving her no choice but to agree as she heads into town. Town guards say the party starts in 2 hours, giving her plenty of time to wander through the market stalls first. She tells her guards she'll only change inside the tent, planning her secret escape while they wait outside the entrance. She slips out unnoticed while they're distracted, leaving only a note behind that gives her guards a massive, throbbing headache. While walking, she notices increased patrols searching for the prince when she spots a group of very suspicious-looking men. The heavy sack they're carrying doesn't seem to contain flour or supplies, so she follows them from the dark shadows. Now watch this. A hand slips out of the sack holding the handkerchief she gave the prince earlier that morning. There is no time for backup now, and she must act quickly or she will lose track of them forever. As she plans her rescue, she does not notice that Silas is already watching her from the rooftop high above her. She waits for the men to go, then discovers the door is locked and cleverly leaps through a dusty side window. The room is thick with grain and dust, making it hard to see, so she whispers to check for any life. She finds the prince tied up and gives him a quick whack on the head since he's completely passed out. It actually works, and the prince wakes up remembering nothing but going out for a meal with young Lord Julian. While untying him, she's annoyed he accepted Julian's invitation but turned her down, though he says she only asked once. Their bickering stops when Silas appears, revealing Lady Beatrice paid him a fortune in gold for the prince's royal head. 𝒂𝒅 warns that the Knights of Oakhaven are coming, but Silas just laughs at his desperate attempt at making a threat. He chose this location specifically because it is full of firewood, intending to burn the prince alive without leaving a trace. He calls Alara to his side since she is not the target, even mentioning he likes her handsome disguise quite a bit. You saw that too, right? Silas mentions he likes her handsome disguise, so she follows him to avoid a fight. Sir, please don't make us like you too. Alara follows him to avoid a fight while Silas pours oil over the prince. 𝒂𝒅 tries to bargain, asking how much Beatrice paid, and offering 10 times that amount once he is king of Oakhaven. He promises the royal diamond mines will be his, but Silas is not convinced he will ever wear the crown. While he continues to speak, the prince gains enough time to untie the ropes and attack Silas with her dagger. He is faster and stronger than when she last saw him training, making it difficult for Silas to keep up today. 𝒂𝒅 moves with lethal precision, and even a master assassin like Silas finds himself completely overwhelmed by the prince's sudden fury. Silas eventually admits defeat and agrees to serve the prince, but soon he learns the truth. That 10 million gold offer was a total bluff, and now 𝒂𝒅 wants him under his royal wing. He orders him to join the monster hunt in 2 weeks, and honestly, you and I saw this coming. Did he really just recruit the man who tried to kill him? Talk about a dangerous gamble. 𝒂𝒅 warns him he's only alive by mercy, then returns Alara's dagger, and they both exit the storehouse. Lord Julian comes screaming toward the prince, kneeling down to apologize while noting 𝒂𝒅's very messy and disheveled appearance. He notices his sister is there too, but Alara quickly spins a clever excuse and drags him away immediately. Aurora invites Cedric to the festival after changing her outfit. You and I are starting this journey now. He cannot believe she still wants to be with him, but Aurora is sure that he will win. Cedric continues to worry, making her recall his earlier stubbornness while she wonders how to convince him. She wonders exactly how many times she must ask him today before he finally says yes to her. He turns bright red because his feelings are obvious, but eventually he gives in and follows her. They find amazing food stalls until the crowd gets thick, and she notices Cedric is falling behind. Our shy prince refuses to hold her hand, opting to grab her sleeve like a nervous little bird. Then Aurora takes charge and grabs his wrist, making him flush bright pink. He is such a cutie. While watching a puppet show, she thinks he is a kid, but he thanks her for saving him. He is grateful she kept their secret from the Elwoods, since he will be leaving the estate soon. Cedric knows allies put them in danger, but Aurora is not going to let him face it alone. She tells him he would be in a worse spot if she had not found him, so speak up. She reminds him that, as the daughter of the Empire's greatest knight, she is anything but a weakling. Now we see why she is so strong. She jokes that a 15-year-old prince needs adult assistance. Pay attention now, because this confident lady tells him she will come running whenever he needs her help. He struggles to hide his red face while stealing glances at her, completely overwhelmed by her bold kindness. The next day, Marcus keeps pestering her to marry Baron Sterling to pay off his own gambling debts. It irritates her, especially when he asks about her ideal man since she is already 20 and unmarried. When Cedric appears, she uses him as her excuse. Marcus is shocked by their 5-year age gap. So, doing the math, the prince is mid-teens while Aurora is 20. Marcus leaves in total defeat. Aurora tells the prince she was lying, and he agrees, but he looks upset when she mentions age. She says she dislikes younger men, making him shout that he hates older women too. This is hilarious. For days, the prince avoids her, but she eventually finds him training with her older brother, 𝒂𝒅. She approaches as they prepare for the monster hunt, and 𝒂𝒅 hands her a practice sword to join. He tells Cedric that Aurora is stronger than any knight. The prince wants to see this for himself. Watch closely here, because you and I are about to see her predict his every single move. Right as she is about to win, her heels catch and she stumbles. Cedric reaches out to help. She teases him again about not wanting a younger boyfriend, and this time, he actually asks her why. She tries to leave, but he grabs her. 𝒂𝒅 senses the mood and clears out, leaving them alone. Aurora blushes when he asks her about her ideal boyfriend, but he claims it is just noble curiosity. He needs to understand commoner tastes, so she gives him a very long list of specific traits. The traits she describes fit him perfectly, but he just says he has no motives and walks away. He leaves her with an upset face after claiming he was only curious and had no other motives. Every year, the southern nobles gather 2 days before the monster hunt for a massive tradition and feast. Aurora is busy getting the mansion ready for visiting lords, while everyone prepares for the final celebration. During the party, Aurora looks breathtaking in a red gown, catching everyone's eye, including Lord Julian. He thanks her for her efforts, but when Cedric walks in looking dashing, he sees them together. His reaction changes instantly as he spots her with Julian. He is looking more handsome than ever. As the night goes on, Aurora tells Julian she needs to head out and wishes him good night. Julian tries to ask for her plans the next day, but the prince cuts in and blocks him. Aurora thinks Cedric is drunk because he is acting so strange, which worries her since he is young. She asks who gave him wine and is shocked to hear her brother Marcus is the one to blame. She is ready to find Marcus when Cedric grabs her, asking if Julian is the type she likes. She loses her temper, telling him she does not care about Julian, but the prince looks totally furious. He demands she stay away, and trust me, you and I are waiting to see if he wins her heart. He is still mumbling phrases she doesn't get, so she reaches out only to find him fast asleep. The next night, Lady Aurora finds the ball far too noisy. She remembers how drunk the prince was yesterday. Seeing him bond with her brother 𝒂𝒅 is sweet. Trust me, you and I need to watch this closely. Their eyes lock, but Arthur quickly looks away. Then, Earl Percival invites her for a stroll, which she accepts. Outside, Aurora breathes in the fresh air, ignoring the man. Meanwhile, the prince watches them depart with a glare. Suddenly, Percival drops to one knee and proposes. He talks about their future, even mentioning having many children together. Aurora realizes her requirements for a husband have spread throughout the South. Every noble now knows her specific standards. Marriage proposals are flooding in, but her heart has shifted. After meeting the prince, this sudden offer feels wrong. But wait for this. Right then, the prince shouts from the window, interrupting the entire moment before she speaks. Before she can react, Arthur demands the Earl cancel the proposal, claiming Aurora has already confessed her love. He boasts that she called him the most beautiful man alive, and that she cannot take her eyes off. Aurora looks absolutely finished with him. She's crying inside, knowing how fast rumors spread among these noble English houses. A confused Earl Percival asks if it's true. She denies it, but the prince keeps rambling about her confessions. He even dares her to call 𝒂𝒅 to testify. Honestly, this guy is such an actor, putting on a show. Heartbroken, Percival tells her to forget his offer and flees. By the next day, everyone prepares for the hunt. As they hunt beasts, Aurora notices the nobles acting normal. It seems Percival hasn't spread the gossip just yet. Suddenly, she spots the Earl, who runs away immediately. Then there's the prince, looking handsome but strangely emotionless today. She wonders if he's still furious about yesterday. He completely ignores her presence, which actually catches her off guard. Someone is definitely hitting a moody phase. As they gather, Julian greets her, looking sharp in his new suit. Arthur previously told 𝒂𝒅 about him. Her brother initially objected, but now finds Julian useful for the coming war. Aurora still doesn't trust him. He's obsessed with power and gold, and she's terrified he'll eventually stab their backs. She decides to ignore him and tells him to back off. Stick with me, her troubles are just beginning. Julian refuses to leave, claiming she's the only one he knows. Plus, he's convinced they'll be great drinking buddies. Aurora is thrilled they'll reach Cotswold Village tomorrow. She's been dreaming about their famous grapes since the journey started. Those grapes are the only reason she joined. She's carrying 𝒂𝒅's meal when she sees the prince with him. Still fuming over his behavior last night, she ditches them to join the other nobles. She's not following Arthur. They welcome her warmly, but the feast quickly turns sour. The nobles start prying into her private love life. She instantly regrets her decision. Exhausted by the unwanted attention, she retreats to a quiet spot where Julian sits. He completely misinterprets why she's there and starts teasing her. You and I both know how annoying that is. They continue their march, and Aurora uses Julian as a human shield to keep the gossiping noble houses away. Meanwhile, the prince watches them like a hawk until they arrive. Everyone starts unpacking their gear for the night. A young boy approaches and insists she follows him. She suspects Arthur is behind this, but tells him no. The boy won't take no for an answer, so she agrees to meet in an hour just to clear things. She has no idea why the prince acts like such a brat. Arthur finally asks why she's close with Julian. Realizing where this is going, she tells the prince she knows he has a crush, but she's not interested. He denies it, but starts acting incredibly cute. He claims he was only trying to help her with that proposal. Aurora almost falls for his charm. All she wants is her ideal man, but Arthur keeps scaring off every suitor. His excuse: he can't stand the thought of her marrying anyone else. It's a possessiveness that is hard to ignore. That's when it finally clicks. She asks him straight out if he's actually trying to propose to her now. He looks visibly nervous, asking if she'd ever accept his feelings. The answer from Aurora is a fast no. The prince is persistent, but she keeps pushing him away. Honestly, kid, you're still way too young for this. Even though Aurora feels nothing, he makes it clear he won't give up until her heart finally changes mind. They're both being remarkably honest here. It's a refreshingly blunt conversation for two members of the royal family. Despite being rejected, it's obvious the prince won't stop. Aurora starts to worry about what this means for her. She remembers the original story. After the prince wins this hunt, he'll leave soon. We'll see if that happens. All right, stick with me, because the war in the East is coming, and the throne battle is starting soon. Since time is short, Alara lets Arthur be, but the next day the lords are already getting nervous. See, siren birds don't usually kill, but they'll definitely leave a mark. These are monsters with human faces. They have bird bodies and razor-sharp talons. Fighting them is a nightmare because they can actually seduce you. One look in their eyes or one song and you're gone. Soon, Sir Alistair gathers the hunting party. As they head out, Alara tries to give the prince some pointers for his very first monster hunt. But he completely ignores her. Whatever, she knows he's a beast in combat, so it's not a big deal. Once they reach the siren bird nesting grounds, Alistair warns that their illusions can trap anyone who's charmed. That shouldn't be an issue for a prince, right? They walk for a bit before the monsters strike first. A deafening screech echoes through the trees, and the action finally begins. Our girl starts dropping monsters easily. She's a pro at protecting the other nobles, but then she remembers a dark detail from the original story. Watch closely now. This is where Arthur is supposed to fall under the monster's hypnotic spell. She finds him trapped in a daze. Words won't work, so she pins him and delivers a massive slap. Honestly, I thought she was going for a kiss, but a hard reality check works just as well. The slap leaves a bruise, but Arthur thanks her. Then, suddenly, Alara herself falls into the trap. She sees a grown-up version of Arthur. He's incredibly handsome, and that little beauty mark, total heart-stopper. Luckily, she snaps out of it when the real prince starts shaking her like a rag doll. She's totally embarrassed once she realizes she was dreaming about how manly he looked in that illusion. But wait, you and I both know the legend says these monsters show you your ideal type. That means Alara is in deep trouble. She vows to keep it a secret, while Arthur just admits he saw her. She quickly changes the subject, reminding him that they need to get back to their squad's position. They keep cutting through the siren birds, and Arthur is easily racking up the highest kill count on the field. While watching him, she wonders why she saw his adult self and if she actually loves him. She pushes those thoughts aside and rushes to help the wounded when a scream pierces the air. She finds Lord Percival in serious danger. Without hesitating, She hurls her sword and skewers the monster. After saving the lord, she immediately starts bandaging his shoulder while he stares at her in total awe. Percival tries to play it cool because he knows she's already got eyes for someone else, the prince. Despite her denials, Percival is convinced. Suddenly, they hear the prince crying out in pain nearby. She knows he's just faking it to get her attention, but as the healer, she has to check. She's pretty annoyed, especially when he starts acting sweet and complaining about how much that slap hurt. She admits she went a bit overboard and feels guilty. Seizing the moment, he demands a special reward. Since he's been doing all the heavy lifting, she agrees to treat his injury personally as a prize. She uses her handkerchief on his cheek, but a monster sneaks up. He instantly grabs her and kills it. He lets her go once the threat is over, and she has to admit he looked pretty cool there. But then he looks miserable because the handkerchief got dirty. 𝒂𝒗𝒆𝒅 can't help but tease the poor guy. She tells him his reward is officially over. When he doesn't respond, she feels bad and offers a favor. He can have whatever he wants. Instantly happy again, he points right to his left cheek. And surprisingly, she actually leans in and kisses it. Okay, I'm definitely shipping them once he's older. He's thrilled, but she decides to view him as a puppy to keep her own heart from racing. The first day of the hunt is a massive success. The lords are all lining up to thank Arthur. 𝒂𝒗𝒆𝒅 knows these very men will eventually fight by his side against Lady Isabella later in the story. At the victory feast, 𝒂𝒗𝒆𝒅 tries to head to bed, but her puppy doesn't want to let her go. Lord Percival steps in, telling the prince that she's exhausted and needs her rest after all that fighting. Percival is right, so Arthur lets her go, but he sends a murderous glare toward the young lord. Trust me, you and I are seeing a very childish prince, as he warns Lord Percival. The prince warns 𝒂𝒅 to stay away, but the count says he was only trying to help the girl. He is grabbing her without even checking her condition. Honestly, you and I are on 𝒂𝒅's side this time. Ariel shuts him up, and 𝒂𝒅 quickly retreats, which only leads to even more awkward tension between them. She is not happy with how the prince is acting. He argues he has been watching her the whole time. Ariel freezes because this is getting way too intense. If a guy her age said this, she would be happy, but coming from him, pure agony. Same girl. Their talk ends when he asks why she is already out of bed. She is starving, so she invites him to eat. While they dine, she remembers his first impression of her. She asks if his stomach still hurts around her. Our boy is known for being brutally honest. He confesses his stomach hurt because he actually likes her, but she just laughs it off like it is a joke. She calls his confession boring, making him upset enough to storm right out of the room. They do not speak for 3 whole days. On the 4th day, they finally announce the total success of the hunt. It is a victory, thanks to the prince. Everyone gathers around the hero to celebrate during the feast. Killian approaches Ariel and asks for a dance, but she gives him a very flat refusal. Killian is so good at guilt-tripping her that she eventually agrees to dance just this once. As she reaches out, a blade flies past him. Pay attention here, our jealous puppy is back. Killian realizes it is a bad idea to upset him and vanishes, leaving the two of them alone. The silence is heavy until Ariel tells him he is being incredibly rude to poor Killian. The prince argues that Killian was controlled by the Empress and cannot be trusted. Then she opens up. She mentions how he has been avoiding her, and they have no time left to be fighting like this. He believes that once he leaves, Ariel will eventually forget him and finally find some peace. Thinking it over, she realizes her life will probably just go back to its typical, boring routine. Between brothers and marriage offers, it will be dull. She assures him he is someone she will never forget. They can always write letters, but to him, this feels like a final farewell as he leaves her once again. She follows him until a noble stops him to gossip about the Empress and the throne. Reclaiming the throne is a sensitive topic for him. He flees while Ariel gets trapped in the crowd. She loses him after a collision. The next day, those grapes she wanted finally arrive for her. She cheerfully tells him about the fruit, but he barely gives her any attention at all. Later, she finds the prince resting in the forest and decides to join him on the grass. She enjoys the peace, but you and I know he is headed to war soon. According to the story, he is destined to fight in the east immediately after this campaign is over. She accidentally cheers him on for the coming war, which leaves the prince looking completely confused. She covers with a quick lie, saying she just assumed he would head there since the east is struggling. The prince is terrified. There is no guarantee he will survive, and the empress wants him dead. He is frustrated with the lazy nobles, who dump every bit of responsibility onto his young shoulders. Ariel tells him not to let fear distract him, and to stay focused on what is right in front. She is actually furious thinking about all those cowards watching a teenager fight their battles alone. She tells him to ignore them, but he is terrified because he feels he has absolutely nothing left. No mother and no place in the palace. Ariel is so worried that her heart takes over. She wants to be sensible, but instead, her lips declare that he can be her husband. She claims he can be her husband after 5 years. Trust me, you and I are just as shocked. She quickly explains she will be with him so he is not alone, but only once he is an adult. She then apologizes for taking his first confession so lightly. Siegfried looks confident now and tells her to wait for his real proposal when the time is right. Ariel enjoys her grapes, while the prince finally finds some peace. All right, you and I are jumping back in as Ariel almost chokes on her food and the prince asks about her illusion. She stays vague, which only fuels his jealousy as he fumes over the mysterious man from her vision. Ariel claims she saw her ideal type, but the prince scoffs, insisting no man alive is more handsome than him. She totally disagrees since she actually saw his adult self. She almost slips up, but he is already suspicious. By the next morning, as she packs her things, Lord Cavil from the court estate knocks with a massive announcement. He reveals she is now the owner of the entire vineyard, handing over the deed for her to sign immediately. Stunned, she realizes there is only one person wealthy enough to drop that kind of gold on a gift, the prince. She storms into his meeting, refusing to accept such a lavish estate bought behind her back without a single word. Prince Siegfried is baffled. He spent all night planning this gift. He asks if his grand gesture was actually too much. His sudden vulnerability makes her feel guilty, but they both forget the room is full of knights watching this drama. The entire court chimes in, pressuring Ariel to finally accept the prince's generous offering. She signs the papers, becoming the lady of Court Vineyard. Soon, she notices the nobility treating her very differently. Whispers spread among the lords about how close the two have become, especially after their display at the grand event. Now watch closely here. As they leave the forest, Ariel's instincts scream that something is very wrong. She scans the trees for danger, while the prince stays oblivious, his eyes fixed only on his beautiful companion. Suddenly, arrows whistle through the air, aimed straight for the prince's heart. It is a deadly, coordinated ambush. The guards rally to shield him, including Ariel, while the prince struggles to control his panicked, rearing horse. Ariel expertly deflects every shot. Turns out, our girl isn't just a master swordswoman, but an elite archer too. But they are badly outnumbered. Realizing they need to flee, she spots a hidden assassin lurking in the shadows. The killer is right behind the prince. With no time to shout, she actually fires an arrow to intercept his. She catches the incoming bolt with her bare hand to save him, slicing her palm open. Those reflexes are insane. The prince's horse bolts into the woods. Sir 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 commands Ariel to follow him while the knights hold the line. The assassins are no match for 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆's elite squad, who quickly begin cutting through the masked attackers. Sir Killian recognizes one of the fallen men, a face he definitely remembers from the Crown Prince's palace. You and I saw this coming. The Crown Prince is officially hunting his own brother, Siegfried. Ariel searches the dense brush until the prince finally appears, tumbling off his exhausted horse into the grass. The prince is unhurt and familiar with these assassination attempts, but he admits he was distracted by Ariel today. His focus was entirely on her, and honestly, can we blame him? Plus, he's never seen anyone catch an arrow. He rushes to check her wounded hand just as 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 arrives, looking relieved to find both of them alive. The knights aren't all safe, though. Sir Mallard has a broken arm, and several others are badly injured. They set up camp to treat the wounded. Ariel, unable to find sleep, wanders out into the quiet night air. She finds the prince staring into the campfire with a heavy, troubled expression. He looks completely lost in thought. When she asks if he is okay, he confesses his fear that his brother's bloodlust will get his friends killed. He knows he cannot let himself spiral into depression every time an attack happens, for the sake of his people. His mental strength is incredible. He's just so grateful that everyone actually survived today's brutal clash without any fatalities. This ordeal motivates him to train harder, so he can finally defeat the crown prince and protect those he loves. Ariel realizes he is remarkably mature for his age. She is genuinely proud of how he handles the pressure. They reach a quiet village to rest for a day, but the injured knights need much more time to heal. Since they are staying a while, they realize the area is actually a beautiful spot for travelers and tourists. The prince asks Ariel for a romantic seaside walk, wanting to take her to see a local puppet show and share a moment. She is mesmerized by the ocean. Seeing her pure joy brings a warm, genuine smile to the prince's face as he watches. He tells her he'd give her the world just to prove his love, but Ariel has other ideas about gifts. She explains that heartfelt tokens mean more than gold. He tries to argue, but she shushes him for the show. The puppet show begins, and they watch side by side. It is a rare moment of peace for them both. He leaves mid-show for a quick errand, but stick with me, because what he's planning next is huge. Bridge 1. All right, you and I are diving into a world of noble betrayal and hidden ancient power. He returns safely, but Alara demands an explanation as he leads her away to show her something secret. They settle beside the quiet street, and the prince hands her an elegant box containing a special gift he wants to give. Knowing she would not take a throne, he carefully chose a ruby to express his deep love for her. He would normally buy every gemstone in sight, but this red stone matches her eye color perfectly. She appreciates how much he wants her acceptance, so she accepts the gift and promises to care for it. When they get back to the inn, a knight hurries over to tell them that the vineyard has burned down completely. At the 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 mansion, they talk about the fire and learn it was a warning from the crown prince. Alara wishes to organize a funeral for the victims, but only ashes remain of the poor farmers. The prince appears composed, as he admits it was his fault and accepts that the past cannot be undone. He resolves to protect the lives of those who are still living, no matter the cost. At that moment, Alara realizes the boy in front of her is destined to be a powerful future emperor. He is resilient and never panics, even when word arrives that the crown prince has raised their land taxes. This puts immense pressure on House 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆, a family that has always tried to remain neutral. The prince decides his only choice is to head to the Eastern Front and build enough military power and influence to protect her. While writing to the emperor, he notices her sad face and assures her that his departure was always the plan. He tells her not to worry, as this move is necessary for his future and his strength. Later that night, Alara catches her brother Marcus sneaking home after gambling and confronts him about his bad habits. He is holding a mysterious box, claiming a palace servant gave it to him without saying what was inside. She warns him against taking gifts from strangers, and they both open the box to see what is hidden. Inside is nothing special, making Marcus think the man from the imperial palace was just giving him a tip. She has her doubts, but lets him go before their older brother catches him sneaking around. As she returns to her room, she notices the prince standing right outside her bedroom door. He hesitates to enter so late, but he saw her walking outdoors and sensed something was bothering her. Our brave little prince goes inside and teases her that he already knows who she saw in her vision. He knows she saw the adult version of himself, and he uses it to tease her. Busted, But even so, they must wait another 5 years before they can truly move on with their relationship. 𝒂𝒅 worries, remembering that in the original novel, Siegfried is supposed to fall in love with the main heroine. Her thoughts are interrupted as the mansion begins to tremble and a massive dragon breaks through the house. Bridge 2, watch this. Marcus screams that the box was a trap and contained a cursed summoning stone that unleashed this massive dragon. The prince orders Marcus to call Alaric and instructs 𝒂𝒅 to bring him a sword while he fights. A maid is still in shock and unable to move, forcing Siegfried to guard her at a disadvantage. Fortunately, 𝒂𝒅 arrives just in time to slash the beast while looking absolutely awesome. 𝒂𝒅 throws the sword to him, and the prince quickly uses it to go on the offensive. He leaves several injuries on the monster, but the attacks are not fatal enough to stop the beast. Thankfully, Alaric and the knights arrive just in time to chain the dragon down, while the prince delivers the final blow. They quickly confirm the box was a trap, a summoning stone planted by a royal servant to kill the entire family. This was a planned assassination attempt, orchestrated by the crown prince himself to wipe them out. Bridge 3, wait, did you see that? The monster isn't dead yet, and it is lunging for 𝒂𝒅 from behind while they're distracted. Everyone panics, but then they hear 𝒂𝒅's voice. She is actually still alive and standing. She is covered in blood, making her brother rush over in a total panic to see if she is hurt. Thankfully, she was fast enough to thrust a knife into the monster's mouth, so the blood staining her clothes is the beast's. Amid all the commotion, she notices the prince standing in the corner, and she is shocked to find him crying. He sounds so serious, and tells her that he simply cannot afford to be by her side anymore. Bridge 4, trust me. You and I just watched a future king realize how difficult his path will be and find his resolve. All right, you and I are about to see if Julian can truly escape this mess before 𝒂𝒅 loses him. 𝒂𝒅 knows words won't cut it, so she holds him close, promising to stay by his side forever. She reassures him that no one is at fault, and 𝒂𝒅 agrees, letting the prince stay at 𝒂𝒅 Manor. Besides, he can't flee now after scaring away every suitor who ever dared to knock on her door. He finally relaxes, while 𝒂𝒅 gently dries his eyes. Peace returns for a few days, but 𝒂𝒅 notices a growing shadow of gloom over the young prince. Marcus tries his best to cheer him up, but 𝒂𝒅 shuts him down while 𝒂𝒅 ignores him completely. He is fed up with this treatment when a royal knight suddenly arrives with an urgent message. The knight demands Marcus follow him by order of Crown Prince Arthur, claiming a royal treasure was stolen. A servant allegedly confessed to handing the stolen goods to the youngest son of the noble house 𝒂𝒅. Marcus denies everything, having no clue about any box, but the knight is ready to use direct force. Stick with me, because this is where the crown prince's twisted trap finally starts to snap shut. Julian points out the timeline is impossible, as the journey from the capital takes at least 7 days. This was clearly orchestrated by Arthur, while Marcus panics and screams that it was all the servant's fault. The knight loses his cool, but Julian steps in before things get violent, sensing a hidden bargain nearby. He knows Arthur wants him gone, likely to the dangerous Eastern Front, while waiting for the Emperor's word. The knight confirms it, stating that if Julian joins the war, House 𝒂𝒅 will be spared from ruin. Especially since Lady 𝒂𝒅 is now being considered as a potential bride for the ruthless crown prince himself. Furious, Julian accepts the terms to protect his love, and the knight finally departs with his mission complete. Later that night, 𝒂𝒅 finds Julian lost in thought during a stroll and quietly sits down beside him. Julian fears Arthur and other men will steal her away while he is off fighting in the east. He hates being 5 years younger, but vows to return strong enough to finally claim her hand properly. That is some serious maturity right there, showing he is ready to grow up for her sake. 𝒂𝒅 believes he will eventually surpass the crown prince, which gives the young man a much-needed confidence boost. He asks for her promise to wait for his return, while 𝒂𝒅 jokingly warns him not to stray. But Julian is dead serious, leaning in close to confess that she is the only woman for him. Sparks fly between them, and Alara feels torn between her growing feelings and the weight of her duty. Now pay attention, because you and I just witnessed their first kiss, and it was absolutely adorable. Julian runs off in a shy panic, leaving Alara stunned and breathless after nearly giving in to him. 2 days later, the Emperor's decree arrives, granting the prince permission to lead the army to the east. As they share a final tea, Lady Beatrice arrives to escort the prince on his long, dangerous journey. Beatrice clearly disapproves of the rumors linking Julian to Alara, causing a tense chill to fill the room. Alara tries to stay calm, knowing the high nobility will never easily accept a match like theirs. To her shock, Julian proudly declares to everyone that Alara is indeed his one and only future wife. She nearly chokes on her tea, embarrassed by his public claim while their future still feels so uncertain. She never wanted royal drama, but Alara realizes she has truly fallen for the young second prince. Accepting her fate, she tells him to write often and take responsibility for ruining her other marriage prospects. She waves him goodbye, her heart a wild mix of anxiety and excitement for whatever comes next. As the months pass, her longing for him grows stronger than she ever expected it to be. She spends her days managing the family vineyards and teasing Marcus to keep her mind off the war. Julian keeps his word, sending constant letters detailing his heroic victories and growth over the next 5 years. Marcus delivers the latest letter, and Alara marvels at how he never missed a single week of writing. He even sends rare jewels with every message, making her heart race as she reads his latest words. She grabs Marcus in a fit of joy, shouting to the world that her prince is finally coming home. So, you and I are about to see a legendary hero return to claim his bride. What a journey. All right, you and I are about to dive into a tale where winning over the high nobles is just the start. Siegfried is returning to the palace as a decorated war hero, and Alara's family is definitely on the guest list for the royal banquet. But while she is dying to see him, she is terrified of meeting Lord 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆, the man known for his legendary cruelty in the original story. Once they arrive at the capital, her first stop is an elite dress shop, but the clerk stops her before she can even pull out a coin. Turns out, everything she wants is already paid for. She finds the account is under her own name, oddly enough. It is a clever trick to hide the benefactor's identity, but she already has a strong feeling she knows exactly who is behind the gift. She suspects Siegfried and quickly dismisses the idea of it being Alaric. With total trust in her knight, she starts her shopping spree. After picking out the perfect gown, Marcus greets her with some dark rumors he picked up at the local gaming house. The word on the street is that Siegfried is finally making a play for the throne himself. Alara remembers the book saying Siegfried would eventually rule, but she cannot recall a single thing about Alaric's dark future. The next day, the boys suit up in their finest attire, while Alara steps out in a dress that is honestly just breathtaking. Now watch this part closely. As they enter the palace, they find a sea of young noblewomen gathered together. Alaric announced he is picking a crown princess tonight, a total distraction from Siegfried's welcoming party. Talk about a petty move, right? Oberyn is busy mingling, while Marcus is preoccupied with the food, leaving our girl Alara all alone in the crowd. That is when Lady Leonora approaches. She seems to know Alara because of those juicy rumors about her and the second prince. The lady offers to help her navigate the social minefield. She seems kind enough, but in this kingdom, you never know. Leonora helps her join the conversation, but Alara's eyes wander to another table where a redhead is clearly up to no good right now. This girl purposely places a wine glass on the edge, waiting for a poor innocent lady to knock it over and ruin her dress. The victim apologizes immediately, but the bully demands she get on her knees. Yeah, that is way too much for a spilled drink. Alara tries to step in and stop the drama, but she is cut off when Crown Prince Alaric finally makes his entrance. This is her first time seeing Alaric, and she is stunned by how handsome he is. In the book, this is the man she was destined to marry. She knows she has to avoid him at all costs to change her fate. But then the herald announces that Siegfried is running late tonight. She slips away to the terrace, trying to figure out how to greet her friend after 5 long years apart. A random noble starts hitting on her, even mocking the prince to impress her. Talk about having zero self-awareness. Suddenly, the man who spent years scaring away her suitors finally appears. He is grown up, and wow, he looks absolutely incredible. You and I can finally ship these two in peace now. Just look at him. When he greets her, Alara does not give him a hug. Instead, she asks who he is because she cannot believe this hunk is her little Siegfried. Siegfried glares at the annoying noble until he finally flees the terrace, leaving the two of them alone to catch up in private. Now that she sees him up close, his maturity is intimidating. She is not even sure if she can tease him like she used to. He has changed so much, but then he gives her a formal greeting. He drops to one knee and kisses the back of her hand. Alara turns bright red. She is so relieved he is home safe, but she wonders why he is out here instead of at his own party. Turns out he was searching for her. He wants to make his grand entrance with her by his side, and the nobles love it. But as they descend the stairs, Crown Prince Alaric intercepts them and demands a dance with Alara. With all eyes on them, she cannot refuse the future king without causing a massive scandal. She is stuck. She looks devastated because this was supposed to be her night with Siegfried. Even the prince can only watch in frustration. They move to the center of the ballroom. Alaric pulls her close, and she absolutely hates every second of it. She closes her eyes, just trying to endure the dance until it is over. Their perfect evening is officially ruined by this guy. Dancing with the crown prince is breaking her heart, and she has no power to stop him. Alaric has always seen her as his future queen, and no matter how much she plays dumb, he will not stop flirting. When she almost trips, he pulls her tight against his chest, making sure she feels his strength and power during this tense dance. He bluntly asks if she wants to be his princess, but she rejects him immediately. She did not even hesitate. He notices her lightning-fast response, like she has been waiting for years to say no. They finish the dance in total silence. She is so relieved when the music finally stops. She sees an upset Siegfried reaching out for her while Alaric keeps lingering. So what do you and I think? Is Siegfried about to lose it? Let's find out next time. All right, you and I are watching the Crown Prince's constant harassment, while Lady Alara begins to sweat under his focus. Let's dive in. The drama heats up as Prince 𝒂𝒅 finally leaves, letting our main couple prepare for their first waltz. Siegfried proudly claims he is a master dancer just to impress her. Finally, the moment we have all been waiting for has arrived. They look stunning together on the floor. Ariel realizes that being this close to him feels completely different now. But his expression is dark. She asks if he is upset because she danced with the crown prince earlier that night. He is brutally honest as always. He admits he is incredibly jealous and warns her to stay far away from his royal brother. She has no interest in 𝒂𝒅, but turning down a prince isn't easy. Still, Siegfried's jealousy is reaching a boiling point. He wears that same pouty look from their childhood, promising it won't happen again. Then, he gives her a warm, rare smile. Ariel worries he might actually hurt the prince, but she is just happy to see him smile after 5 long years away. It is a comforting reminder that some things never change. The boy who longed for her affection is still right there. When the song ends, he asks her to the terrace to escape the crowd, but someone is waiting to block their path. Lady Clara of House Marina stops them, desperate to thank Prince Siegfried for his heroics during the recent border wars. Ariel watches them talk, wondering who this noblewoman is. Siegfried introduces them, explaining they met near the harsh front lines. Clara immediately recognizes Ariel. She is actually grateful to her for stopping some bullies earlier before the grand ball even started. But Ariel's mind is elsewhere. She is obsessed with how this beautiful lady knows her prince so well. The tension is real. Clara explains that during the peak of the invasions, she was captured. Siegfried was the legendary knight who swooped in to rescue her. Looking at this pure, innocent beauty, Ariel is convinced she is looking at the true female lead of this original story. Years ago, Ariel joked about sabotaging Siegfried's relationship if he ever brought home a girlfriend. Well, now the joke is over. She cannot believe her eyes. It is actually happening. She knew a heroine would appear, but the timing couldn't be any worse. Is Clara really the one? Ariel is spiraling, unable to process the arrival of a potential rival right in front of her. Now pay attention here. This is where Ariel's confidence starts to crumble under the weight of her own doubts. She isn't certain yet, so she decides to slip away and clear her head. The confusion is just becoming too much. Siegfried is startled and tries to follow her, but a hand suddenly grabs his arm. He is trapped in a conversation he doesn't want. It is his uncle, Duke Blanche, his longtime mentor. Siegfried cannot just walk away, even though his heart is chasing Ariel's shadow. That night, Ariel is a mess. She cannot stop picturing Lady Clara, who looks like she has already fallen head over heels. It is complicating everything. To make matters worse, the lady seems like the perfect match for a war hero like Siegfried. She gets angry, wondering what he did to make Clara fall so hard. But then, she realizes her own feelings are changing. Why is she acting like this? She was the one pushing him away. Did she really fall for him just because he is handsome? She slaps her cheeks to wake up. Suddenly, a knock at the door interrupts her. It is her eldest brother, 𝑺𝒂𝒗𝒆𝒅, checking in. He mentions that Siegfried was looking for her earlier. Ariel just looks gloomy, imagining Clara is already by the prince's side. 𝑺𝒂𝒗𝒆𝒅 invites her to a tea party hosted by Countess Ilia. Ariel is drained, but she knows she cannot hide forever. She spends the night tossing and turning. She keeps seeing Siegfried's flustered face from earlier and decides he is a total jerk. He promised she was the only one, then brings back a war prize. It makes her blood boil with pure, unadulterated rage. He called her other suitors leeches, yet he is the one walking around with a beautiful noblewoman. Our girl is officially overthinking. She is ready to make him pay if he chooses that lady over her. This is a side of Ariel we have never seen. You and I both saw this coming. Our girl is finally jealous, and trust me, an angry Ariel is a force of nature. The next day, she looks exhausted. Even the best makeup cannot hide the dark circles from her sleepless night of worrying. At the tea party, someone asks to sit with her. Ariel gives a tired reply without even looking up at the stranger. But that voice is familiar. She looks up to see Lady Clara smiling back at her, looking as radiant as ever. The air is thick with tension. Clara speaks first, admitting she specifically came to this party just to find Ariel and talk. Ariel laughs nervously, convinced the heroine is about to tell her to back off and leave the prince alone for good. Clara realizes there is a misunderstanding because of how Ariel ran away, but our girl isn't ready to admit she was jealous. The lady explains she only wants to repay Siegfried for saving her life, but Ariel notices the blush on Clara's soft cheeks. She is clearly in love. Ariel tries to stay calm while asking exactly how she plans to repay the noble war hero. Clara wants Ariel's advice since she is the prince's partner. But then, Clara's face turns sad as she asks a very heavy question. Does Ariel actually plan to marry Siegfried? Stick with me, because this answer is going to change the fate of their entire kingdom. All right, you and I are about to see if she really plans to enter the palace as a maid, just to repay the prince. While they chat, Alara notices a sudden stir as a very unhappy prince marches toward her from the shadows. Behind Alara stands 𝒂𝒂𝒅. Surprised to find him at the garden party, she asks what brought him there, but he does not answer. Instead, he demands to know if she has anything to say, and why she fled the gala without a word to him. Just as she speaks, Lady Claire interrupts to greet His Highness. He gives a strange smile while Alara watches Claire's gloomy face. Deciding to give them some privacy, Alara tries to slip away, leaving the prince looking completely baffled yet again. 𝒂𝒂𝒅 chases after her, demanding to know why she is ignoring him. Alara plays dumb, pretending she has no clue what he means. He knows she is dodging him and is desperate for the reason. Alara is torn, unsure of what to say to him. Convinced Claire is the true heroine, Alara thinks she should step aside, though her heart is screaming at her to stay. If she speaks now, her jealousy will be obvious, so she decides to hide in the ladies-only lounge where he cannot follow. 𝒂𝒅 is getting seriously worried now. He catches up and asks if her cold behavior is all because of Lady Claire. She stops for a moment and admits that is the reason, but he swears there is absolutely nothing between them. Alara mentions Claire was so desperate to see him, she even offered to work as a lowly palace maid, just for a glimpse. Don't worry, problem solved. 𝒂𝒅 has already banned Claire from his palace, which only makes Alara panic even more. Now pay attention, because Alara thinks Claire is his destined partner and begs him to discuss this whole thing later. Turning to leave, he blocks her path, demanding they resolve this tension right now. He is not letting her go. It has been far too long since they were together. He refuses to waste time on misunderstandings and asks her to stop doubting. His bold words make her blush deep red. Seizing the moment, 𝒂𝒅 pulls her into a tight hug, exactly as he had planned. She holds him back, finally letting go of her worries. The feeling of him being near makes her head spin. With his return, she realizes their sweet private moments are always cut short by someone else barging in and ruining it. He gazes at her, showering her forehead with kisses. He misses her so much that he craves her even more. You and I saw this coming, right? This cute moment is ruined when they spot Claire watching them. Embarrassed, Alara pushes him away. Claire looks utterly crushed as she apologizes for the intrusion and runs off in tears. Alara wants to explain everything and chases after her, leaving a stunned prince behind. Luckily, the lady stops. Just as she prepares to clarify things, she realizes Claire already knows that she and the prince are lovers. It is just her conscience nagging her for supposedly stealing the main character's role from the original story she once read. However, she knows the plot changed the second she met 𝒂𝒅. She decides she won't let anyone destroy their beautiful bond. She looks determined to face her rival when Claire, sounding heartbroken, reveals she is not in love with the prince. Watch closely, because Claire reveals that she is not in love with the prince at all, but with Alara. Plot twist. Everyone, this is the last thing our girl expected to hear from her supposed love rival today. Absolute shock. Alara is unsure if she heard correctly. She is completely confused, while Lady Claire senses her massive shock and hesitation. The lady bravely confesses it all started at the ball, when Alara stepped in to save her from a public humiliation. Nasty nobles had set her up, but Alara saved her. At that moment, Claire's heart began to flutter for her savior. After learning she was with the prince, she did not dare confess her feelings. Talk about an unexpected turn of events. Alara remains baffled, but slowly starts piecing the truth together. Claire's confession actually makes a weird amount of sense now. Her behavior toward 𝒂𝒅 was just gratitude. It turns out Alara is the one the lady fell for at first sight. She still needs reassurance that Claire feels nothing for the prince, and she gets that confirmation immediately from the girl. Claire explains that the prince is not her type at all. The time he saved her was not romantic. He was far too stern and cold. Alara can only imagine how terrifying the prince must have been back then. While she assists the lady, a furious 𝒂𝒅 appears. He is annoyed he now has to fend off women too. He hates her acting so sweet toward Alara, but this bold lady just grins at him with pure confidence. She explains she only wanted to clear the air with Alara, which has nothing to do with him at all. After learning Claire has been staying in a lonely hotel, Alara offers her a room at her grand family manor. Claire eagerly accepts. Alara wants to make amends for the misunderstanding, plus she was getting a bit bored. 𝒂𝒅 does not object, though his annoyance is clear. Trust me, you and I need to see what happens next. You and I are diving into a royal mess, where Claire isn't even trying to hide her disdain for the prince after that potato sack rescue. He carried her like a bag of flour while saving her life, and honestly, they just keep bickering like two bitter old rivals. Ariella is finally convinced these two are total enemies, especially now that she knows Claire isn't the story's true main character. She wonders if the real heroine will ever show up, or if this world just doesn't have a female lead in the story at all. Either way, she's just happy she can stay close to her beloved Siegfried without some fated protagonist getting in the way. She is back at the manor with Claire when a maid delivers a royal invitation from Prince 𝒂𝒅 to begin preparations for the grand selection. This reminds her that in the original book, she was his fiancée, but things have definitely changed since she met Lord Siegfried. Why would 𝒂𝒅 invite her knowing she's with Siegfried? Still, looking at the situation, there is no real reason for her to refuse. Since she and Siegfried aren't officially engaged yet, she's technically still a single lady in the eyes of the high imperial court. After deciding to go, the maid presents another gift, this time from Lord Siegfried, or so she thinks, and it is absolutely stunning. A beautiful ruby brooch arrives with a sweet note expressing his joy at seeing her, making our main character blush like a rose. She plans to wear it at the palace to show the crown prince that her heart is already taken by another man. When Ariella and Claire reach the Palace of Roses, they're stunned by the sheer beauty of every noble lady in attendance today. Every woman here clearly has her sights set on the crown, but one curious lady approaches Ariella to ask why she's here. Now watch this. Ariella calmly explains she isn't competing, but had to show up because the invitation was practically a royal command. She then greets Lady Alina, who asks the exact same thing, wondering why the most beautiful woman in the room isn't competing. Ariella keeps it cool, telling her it was just a courtesy invite and that she plans to head home fairly early tonight. She asks Alina if she's actually serious about the selection, but the trumpets blare to announce the arrival of Prince 𝒂𝒅 himself. The crown prince welcomes the crowd, and while every other girl is swooning, Ariella is just standing there looking completely bored. To start the selection, he announces that he's hidden a precious gem somewhere in the Great Hall for the ladies to find. It's an imperial heirloom from his late mother's family, and apparently, whoever finds this treasure will become his royal bride. Giving the ladies a small hint, he reveals the gem has a unique color, a deep, striking shade of bloody red. Ariella can't believe this man is actually using a childish game of treasure hunt to choose the next future empress. While the other girls are frantically searching, Ariella and Claire are perfectly happy just standing back and munching on palace snacks. But pay attention here. Ariella can feel 𝒂𝒅's eyes burning into her, even though she's doing her absolute best to ignore him. Even Claire is getting nervous from the intense way he's glaring at them, so Ariella suggests they take their snacks to the balcony. Once they're alone, Ariella realizes she forgot to ask if Claire actually wanted to join the hunt for the hidden imperial jewel. She's surprised by how wise Claire is, knowing that even with the gem, her fallen house would never be accepted by nobles. Since political power is a top requirement for any future princess, Ariella starts to suspect that this whole selection process is rigged. Ariella is ready to leave the moment they finish eating, but they're stuck because the competition isn't technically over yet. Waiting impatiently for someone to find the jewel, she peeks back inside, only to come face to face with the crown prince. Talk about a total creep. Ariella quickly pulls herself together to greet him, with Claire following suit while trying to stay calm. 𝒂𝒅 recognizes Claire immediately and begins to mock her family, calling them a completely useless burden to the empire's great noble history. He even tells her that Siegfried shouldn't have wasted a second of his time, saving someone as insignificant as her. The prince then grabs Ariella's chin, warning her that Siegfried will never be emperor because he plans to kill him very soon. He emphasizes that she should choose her side wisely, clearly thinking this threat will make her fall for his twisted charms. Ariella rejects him instantly, stating she lacks the qualifications to be a princess, but this villain has had everything planned since the start. It turns out the brooch wasn't a gift from Siegfried at all. He rips it from her dress, revealing the truth. That brooch is actually the missing gem everyone was looking for, and you can see the pure terror on Ariella's face. The prince just laughs at her fear and denies giving it to her, ordering everyone to gather back in the grand hall. He forcefully drags Ariella back inside, announcing to the shocked crowd that his game is over because the winner has finally been found. He presents Ariella to the crowd while the guards hold her back. Lady Alina and the others are in total shock. They can't believe she would ever want the crown prince's hand, especially when the whole kingdom knows her heart belongs to Lord Siegfried. And speaking of the noble lord, everyone is wondering exactly where he is during this absolute disaster. Trust me, you and I are not ready for what happens when Siegfried finds out about this trap. All right, stick with me. We are about to watch 𝒂𝒅 storm the hall and demand answers from his brother. Alara immediately protests, revealing she never found the jewel herself, but that it was actually a secret gift from 𝒂𝒅. 𝒂𝒅 is baffled since he never sent it, but luckily, Alara kept the original gift box and the note as proof. Those scraps prove 𝒂𝒅 was the sender, while Beatrice can testify that Alara remained on the balcony for the entire hunt. 𝒂𝒅 then demands to inspect the jewel itself, and you can tell he is already smelling a trap from his brother. He recognizes it as a relic belonging to the late queen, meaning only Cedric could have had access to plant it. This proves 𝒂𝒅 was framed, yet the crown prince continues to act oblivious despite being caught red-handed in his lie. But our smart girl corners him, demanding he point out the exact spot where he supposedly hid the royal jewel. It is a question Cedric cannot answer, as the noble ladies have already scoured every single inch of the hall. One wrong answer and he is exposed, so Cedric ignores her, turning his venomous gaze toward 𝒂𝒅 for being blinded. He mocks 𝒂𝒅 for being fooled by a girl who only wants the throne and will eventually abandon him for power. 𝒂𝒅 sees right through the dirty scheme, knowing this was just a desperate attempt to ruin him and steal his lady. The noble ladies begin to whisper, realizing this entire bride selection might be nothing more than a rigged and cruel game. 𝒂𝒅 threatens to take this to the high court, a move that finally makes the arrogant crown prince start to tremble. These ladies are daughters of the most powerful dukes, and their families will not tolerate being played like common pawns. Forced into a corner, Cedric releases Alara and calls off the chaos, promising to reconsider his choice of a future bride. Alara rushes to 𝒂𝒅's side, only to get a stern scolding from her very worried and very protective young knight. When he asks what happened, he learns that Ysabau had been repeatedly warning her to stay far away from him. Realizing the selection was a trap for Alara makes him furious, but he is too clever to waste this golden opportunity. Blushing, he invites her to his palace for safety, and honestly, you and I totally saw this move coming. He does not stop there, boldly suggesting they finally take their growing relationship to the very next level. Incredible. Alara is stunned by his sudden forwardness, her face flushing as she tries to decipher exactly what he truly meant. Her mind is racing as she ponders his words, completely lost in the thought of what comes next for them. She nearly stumbles into a wall, but 𝒂𝒅 catches her, pulling her close in a move that is pure effortless charm. She is falling for him hard, and his palace is certainly the safest refuge from the reach of the crown prince. 𝒂𝒅 is ready to whisk her away right now, ignoring the stares of the shocked nobles watching them be lovey-dovey. She has no choice but to agree, though 𝒂𝒅 did not exactly plan for her to bring a chaperone along. Alara insists on bringing Beatrice along, and trust me, this is where things are going to get chaotic. Upon arriving at the estate, she is curious where they are going, only to be led into a lavish suite. Every corner of the room sparkles, and 𝒂𝒅 proudly admits he prepared all of this specifically with her in mind. While she gazes at the luxury, he shyly asks if she would like to spend the night there with him. She is speechless as he shoots his shot, even though Beatrice is standing right there, hearing every single bold word. This is it. She is now certain this is what he meant by taking their relationship to the very next level. Alara teases him, noting that the boy who once refused to hold her hand has finally grown into a man. He blushes but waits for her answer, though she initially plans to refuse since they only recently reunited days ago. It is moving too fast, But then he makes that puppy dog face, and her resolve starts to melt away. Before she knows it, she agrees, and just looking at his lips has her thinking some very scandalous thoughts. Beatrice interrupts the moment, assuming she will also stay at the palace since Alara is not going anywhere tonight. 𝒂𝒅 claims there are no spare rooms left, so the lady decides she will simply share a bed with Alara. That solves the room problem, but it is clear Beatrice has zero intention of letting them be alone for long. Alara finally relaxes, realizing it will be impossible for 𝒂𝒅 to get up to any mischief with her friend there. She plans to send word to Duke Sterling, but it turns out 𝒂𝒅 has already invited him over for meetings. With everything settled, she anticipates a restful stay, but 𝒂𝒅 is not finished with his attempts to seduce her. 𝒂𝒅 keeps trying to win her heart, and you and I can see he is already planning something bold. Stick with me. He uses a necklace to touch her, even calling her to his room half-naked to break her. Temptation keeps coming. The evening of Alaric's arrival at the palace has come, and he is a bit confused with the situation. They enter a room with serious faces, where Siegfried introduces him to his fellow comrades and the nobles on his side. These nobles pledge to side with him against Arthur and the close supporters of his mother. All of them are ready. They promise to help Siegfried claim the throne. Siegfried expresses gratitude to Alaric for the aid his family provided long ago. 5 years ago, he was just a helpless young prince, but now he has matured and has the strength to stand up. He formally addresses Alaric as Count Elrey to ask him to back his cause in the war against the crown prince. However, Siegfried had no idea Alaric would still want to maintain his stance of political neutrality. He will not choose sides. Don't get him wrong. He believes Prince Siegfried is the rightful heir and would be a great ruler for everyone. Plus, it would secure Ariel's future. But if he supports him, the Elrey family will force their allies into open conflict. They rule the southern territory and cannot become enemies with the crown unless the crown prince threatens his family directly. He cannot afford to change his position now, especially since this battle is not entirely winnable for the prince yet. Wait until he learns that Arthur has been harassing his sister. Alaric completely refuses the prince's offer for now. He hopes the prince understands. Meanwhile, Ariel cannot sleep that night since Siegfried promised to see her but has not shown. Now watch this. While Claire is sleeping soundly beside her, Ariel decides to go out and check on him himself. Siegfried is surprised to see her still awake and wonders if she is waiting for him, which honestly just annoys her. She guesses he forgot his promise to have a sleepover. He blushes, assuring her that he has not forgotten at all. It is something he has been looking forward to, but tonight he needed some air. That is when Ariel senses something. Something has clearly happened, but Siegfried tries to cover it up by teasing her and suggesting they sneak out next time. He gives her a warm embrace, promising to do everything it takes to keep her safe so they are never apart. She wants to know what happened, but she knows better than to pry now. She understands he has many secrets. However, she has never seen him this anxious before, so she hugs him back, reassuring him she will stay. They stay there for a long time without saying a word. The following day, she and Claire pack up to leave. They depart without waking the prince. People watching the palace speculate on her relationship with him while they prepare the carriage. Claire worries that others will misunderstand Ariel and begins spreading rumors, despite the fact that nothing actually happened between them. This is probably for the best, as it makes it less likely that Arthur will invite her to another selection ball. But our girl is wrong. As soon as she arrives at the manor, she receives another invitation from the crown prince. Arthur is starting another ball tonight to mark the empire's success and to make amends for the selection party disaster. Marcus is tired of the endless parties, while Alaric only sighs. This is most likely the crown prince's way of bragging. I know what you're thinking. Marcus is tired of the parties, while Alaric only sighs. It is just the prince bragging. He wants to show off the empire, and Ariel has no excuse to reject the invitation since all nobles are invited. After a few hours, she receives a letter from Siegfried confirming they should attend. The red outfit looks beautiful on her. The suit looks great on the prince. Before they enter the palace, he advises her to never leave his side. This is a precaution in case the crown prince attempts something again, but she is convinced Arthur will be on behavior. She believes he would not do anything after yesterday. Many nobles saw her leaving Siegfried's palace, and the stories have spread. If he continues to approach her when everyone knows what is going on, it will only ruin his entire royal image. He warns her that the crown prince will not hesitate, since Arthur is surely furious about her house's closeness to him. Even though they are not engaged, Ariel assures him that no matter what the prince does, it will not affect them. He agrees, and they both decide to enjoy the party that night. At the ball, the crown prince calls for Siegfried. This irritates Ariel since she was hoping they would not run into him. He is the first person to greet them. What a way to ruin the evening. He is taunting Siegfried for being terrifying yesterday and now enjoys his own ball. The crown prince pretends he misses his little brother so much after his long time away on the bloodied battlefields. He offers him a toast to celebrate, but before they can drink, Siegfried taunts him back while everyone is watching closely. Arthur mentions how long his brother has been away on the battlefield, acting like he truly missed him for so long. Trust me, you and I are watching a toast turn into a taunt. Siegfried claps back while everyone listens. All right, stick with me because our hero had no clue the crown prince even liked him, especially after he tried so hard to ruin him. The prince plays dumb in front of the nobles, acting like he has no idea what these accusations are even about. Suddenly his mood shifts, warning Siegfried not to dare spoil this perfectly arranged imperial celebration. Siegfried stands his ground, telling the prince straight to his face that everyone was having a great time before he showed up. As the prince retreats, Ariel knows he is not the type to walk away without a fight, suspecting something dark is brewing. But Prince 𝒂𝒗𝒆 keeps his distance for now. Meanwhile, at the bar, Siegfried is just trying to enjoy his glass of wine. A servant approaches to refill his drink, but just as he lifts the glass, Ariel grabs his arm and invites him to dance instead. He sets the wine aside and follows her to the very center of the dance floor, where they lock eyes in front of the kingdom. The music swells, and they begin to move, completely ignoring the crowds of shocked nobles whispering around them. The couple looks stunning, and rumors of their past meeting make the court believe this is a love written in the stars. From the shadows, the crown prince watches them. When the music ends, he calls for a toast to the empire's success. Everyone raises a glass and takes a sip together, while Siegfried and his partner have no idea their fates are sealed. Now watch closely here. Ariel doesn't realize the glasses were swapped. Suddenly, she starts coughing up blood and collapses right on the floor. As the world fades, she hears distant voices before falling into a deep dream where her true past begins to resurface. In this dream, she remembers that she was transmigrated into this world as Ariel, and now she is surrounded by a cold darkness. Lost in the void, she wonders if she is even alive while worrying about Siegfried and her brothers back at the manor. Suddenly, a vision takes her back to a hot summer night long ago, when she first crossed paths with the prince. But something is wrong. These memories do not match. This time, Siegfried is being brutally ambushed by a group of assassins. They never got the chance to bond, because the prince was barely conscious after being poisoned and attacked by his many enemies. When he finally woke up, he was nothing like the kind boy she remembered. He was cold and incredibly distant. This version of Siegfried is a hardened warrior who keeps everyone at arm's length, refusing to let anyone get close. Ariel is confused. She realizes these are not her memories at all, or perhaps she is trapped inside a nightmare of a different life. The vision shifts to Siegfried returning to the manor covered in wounds, but Ariel just watches from the sidelines this time. Instead of rushing to his side, she just stands on the sidelines as a worried butler named 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 tries to comfort the prince. Siegfried tells him to stop trying to protect him, claiming that nothing he does will ever change their grim reality. Those words hit Ariel hard because she realizes that in this timeline, Siegfried was just a hollow shell, constantly suffering and totally alone. There was something about the way he kept repeating that phrase, "Nothing will change," that started to sound very familiar. Every time someone showed him concern, he said nothing will change. That exact phrase finally rings a loud bell for Ariel. You see, she is not just dreaming. She realizes she is actually reliving her original life before the timeline was ever reset. In that first life, they were strangers. They never shared a single word, even before he was sent off to the war. She felt a crushing guilt for never offering him a single kind word during his darkest hours, before she was forced into an engagement. She was betrothed to Prince 𝒂𝒗𝒆𝒅 simply because her family was allied with Siegfried House. It was a political trap. 5 years later, she was still trapped with the crown prince while Siegfried finally returned home as a legendary war hero. 𝒂𝒗𝒆𝒅 felt threatened by his brother's return, so he rushed the wedding just to keep Siegfried influence in check for good. As rumors of war between the brothers spread, Ariel sees herself back at the very ball where she first died. In this memory, she tries to speak to Siegfried, but he just ignores her. Then she spots 𝒂𝒗𝒆𝒅 wearing a sinister smile. A sense of dread washes over her. She and 𝒂𝒗𝒆𝒅 approach the war hero, where the prince officially introduces her as his bride. Siegfried has zero interest in the conversation and tries to leave, but 𝒂𝒗𝒆𝒅 insists they share a drink to celebrate. Ariel senses something is wrong with the wine. Fearing for Siegfried's life, she grabs the glass and drinks it herself. The princes watch in horror as Ariel vomits blood and dies. She sacrificed herself to save the man she ignored for years. She deeply regretted not helping him before, so she chose to take the hit this time, even if it meant her death. So in reality, she died in her first life after being transmigrated, and is now living through her second attempt at changing fate. She doesn't know what caused it, but when she opens her eyes, the world is frozen, and she sees Siegfried releasing power. She finally realizes that Siegfried was responsible all along. With his hidden ability, he actually has the power to reverse time. And trust me, you and I are in for a ride as she uses her final breath to beg him not to turn back time. All right, let's dive into the moment 𝒂𝒂𝒅 stops 𝒂𝒂𝒅 from resetting time. She swears she only took a tiny sip of the poison, but 𝒂𝒂𝒅 is so anxious about losing her that he fears the medicine won't work. 𝒂𝒂𝒅 yells at him to snap him back to his reality and to his senses, explaining it's nothing serious. She refuses to leave him to suffer through this cycle of life alone ever again or have him experience this life all over from the start. She wants to stand and fight alongside him. Thankfully, he trusts her and finally stops trying to reverse the clock. Her drive to protect him comes from deep regrets and guilt buried within her own past life memories, and now she can finally let that old version of herself rest for good. After some time, she finally wakes up to find a precious 𝒂𝒂𝒅 sleeping peacefully right beside her bed. Meanwhile, over at the Citadel, Prince 𝒂𝒂𝒅 informs his knight of a change in plans. He never expected 𝒂𝒂𝒅 to drink the poisoned wine intended for 𝒂𝒂𝒅. Honestly, his plan was sloppy from the start, and he knew it was failing even before 𝒂𝒂𝒅 stepped in. His brother has always managed to dodge death thanks to his insane luck. 𝒂𝒂𝒅 always obsessed over the violet eyes, the mark of true royal blood. 𝒂𝒂𝒅 was born with them, while 𝒂𝒂𝒅 was left with absolutely nothing but bitterness throughout those long imperial family years. Those with violet eyes held immense power used to keep the crown's authority absolute and bolster the strength of the imperial families. Position as the highest power. Now pay attention, this is where the political chess match gets truly dangerous. Each royal received unique skills which are the same for no one. One emperor could control fire, another could strike with lightning, and yet another legendary royal from the past possessed healing powers. Their strength was boundless, but those special births began to decline several generations ago, even long before 𝒂𝒂𝒅 was born. The power was rare. He didn't seem to have any skills, but his very presence still threatened 𝒂𝒂𝒅's status and presence as the crown prince. Since they were young, the evil prince used every dirty trick to dispose of him, even after 𝒂𝒅 fled after his mother's death. The assassins never stopped their hunt. But one day, 𝒂𝒊𝒄𝒅 finally received a report that his brother was thriving at the home of House Eldon. Not only was 𝒂𝒅 alive, he was making a massive name for himself while earning his legendary reputation in the southern marches. After 𝒂𝒅 returns as a war hero, 𝒂𝒊𝒄𝒅 finally loses his mind and decides to kill his own brother personally. He's terrified of competing for the throne, and since he'd already poisoned their father enough to keep him bedridden, he tried to do the same to 𝒂𝒅. However, everything fell apart when 𝒂𝒅 stepped in to block his move. House Eldon is usually seen as neutral, yet they keep protecting 𝒂𝒅, which makes 𝒂𝒊𝒄𝒅 see pure red. It irritates him that they keep defending him no matter what. He's furious that he can't eliminate the family due to their massive influence and their prominence in the south. You and I saw this coming. He planned to marry 𝒂𝒅 to control them, but it's clear that our girl is completely bored and indifferent when he's in the room. 𝒂𝒊𝒄𝒅's thoughts are interrupted when the night announces 𝒂𝒅's awakening. But what surprises him most is that Lord Arthur Eldon has openly declared his house's allegiance to Prince 𝒂𝒅. The sight of 𝒂𝒅 awake brings Marcus and Clara to tears, while Arthur stays composed and expresses his worry by patting her head gently. She reassures her brother she's fine, but for him, he will not allow this incident to go unpunished. Our girl agrees. Then 𝒂𝒅 walks in and shares the doctor's prognosis that 𝒂𝒅's senses are still paralyzed, but she'll recover. For now, she needs to spend some time resting at the prince's manor. Arthur is about to say something, but 𝒂𝒅 cuts him off because he too wants to make sure 𝒂𝒊𝒄𝒅 pays for what happened to 𝒂𝒅. That is one of the things Arthur is about to tell him, but the other reason is to formally inform him that House Eldon has decided to back him, since the crown prince has crossed the line and tried to hurt his sister. He already announced his allegiance to a large gathering, so the news has surely reached the crown prince. To prove his devotion, he drops to one knee, trusting the prince to protect House Eldon and especially 𝒂𝒅 and the future empire. Even Clara's house, the House of Thorn, pledges their loyalty to the prince. 𝒂𝒅 returns the salute and promises to do whatever it takes to live up to their high expectations. Later that night, 𝒂𝒅 is concerned for the prince's well-being because he has spent the entire day with her without eating. That's the last thing on our guy's mind, so he diverts her attention by acting all cute like a grown puppy. It appears that 𝒂𝒅 has no recollection of ever using his powers to turn back time. Since she woke up, he just cried and was simply overjoyed she woke up after 3 days. He hasn't mentioned his ability, so she's not sure if telling him is a smart idea. She survived, but now House Eldon is the villain's enemy. She has no idea what's going to happen next. She's wondering if this is a novel or just memories from her first life. So what do you and I think? Novel or memory? They fall asleep, but 𝒂𝒅 wakes up after hearing 𝒂𝒅 have a nightmare. She wakes him up and is surprised to see him. Stick with me. We're starting with a nightmare where Ariel dies in the very same dress she's wearing. She begins to suspect these aren't just dreams, but echoes of their past lives haunting the second prince. He furiously reveals that in his vision, she was already engaged to Arthur, confirming her own suspicions. The universe is seemingly revealing their previous lives to him, without him even knowing it. Ariel reassures him that dreams are usually the opposite of reality, so he shouldn't take the visions seriously. She wants him to share everything about his nightmares, hoping those memories might help them in some way. These nightmares aren't new, and in each one, their world was falling apart and everything went wrong. He would rather carry the burden alone than put her in danger, because he loved her from the start. He missed every chance to get close before, but he vows to grow strong enough to protect her. When he finally reached her again, she was already covered in blood, making all his efforts feel useless. He regretted never confessing his feelings and allowing Arthur to steal her away right under his nose. If only he had seen through Arthur's evil plan that night, She would never have had to sacrifice herself. These are just nightmares, but thinking about them causes a physical pain deep within his hurting heart. He tries to laugh it off as the old saying being true, yet he can't stop wondering. He begins wondering if these realistic dreams are actually reflections of his deepest, past regrets. Now pay attention. Ariel asks if he would believe her if she said those dreams actually happened. He asks jokingly if her illness has worsened, and she snaps back to reality with a sigh. Realizing he won't believe her ridiculous claim, she asks what happened after she died in the nightmare. He used her death as a reason to wage war on the Eastern Kingdom, but dreamed of nothing else. Siegfried gently tucks her into bed, telling her to get some rest and recover her lost strength. He promises to sleep once she dozes off, but she asks him to share any future visions he has. She lies and says she finds it interesting to know the different possibilities for their lives. You and I can see she's certain Siegfried is witnessing memories of their actual past lives. She knows there are more memories yet to come that could help him finally claim the imperial throne. A week later, the royal doctors are absolutely stunned by her miraculously fast recovery. When Lady Lena and other high-ranking ladies visit, Ariel puts on an act and pretends to stay sick. She's actually in great shape, but wants to use her supposed illness to ruin Arthur's reputation. Lady Lena provides medicine, while Camilla questions if the crown prince would really poison her publicly. Everyone knows Siegfried is the main rival to the throne, so Ariel points the finger at Arthur. Lady Camilla disagrees, wondering why the crown prince would act so recklessly in the open. Lady Lena stops her, reminding everyone that questioning the victim in front of her is incredibly rude. Once alone, she realizes this scandal is the perfect chance to either ruin Arthur or find allies. Suddenly, a stray arrow flies through the window and thuds into the table. She spots a secret letter wrapped around the shaft, sent directly from the crown prince himself. He invites her to a private dinner to make amends, and the audacity is staggering. That evening, she and Siegfried discuss if this invitation is actually a deadly trap. They can't figure out why Arthur is being so bold after his reputation was damaged. Since he is already under fire, he might not hesitate to permanently remove them now. Siegfried wants to ignore the letter, but brave Ariel sees a chance to declare open war. She wants to take advantage of this dinner to openly confront him for the terrible things he did. Since Arthur wants this meeting to be a secret, Ariel decides to ruin those plans for him entirely. She wants their dinner headline in every newspaper to ensure the whole empire is watching them. With all eyes on them, she's confident the crown prince won't dare play any dirty tricks. Soon, the dinner between the crown prince and second prince is announced everywhere. And trust me, you and I are about to see this simple dinner become a legendary scandal. All right, stick with me. You are about to see how a simple dinner invitation turns into a deadly political game. Lady Arya and Sir Cedric arrive at the citadel, only to find the prince's halls crawling with elite imperial soldiers. Prince Alaric seems totally unbothered by the heavy security, even joking about the tension surrounding this supposed friendly meal. He claims the food isn't poisoned, so they should just relax, which is insane coming from the man who tried it. Alaric denies everything, claiming he is innocent, and to prove it, he drags in a bloodied, broken man to face them. The poor soul trembles, begging Arya and Cedric for help, but he is silenced with another blade for even daring to speak. The prince casually explains that this dying servant admitted to poisoning Arya's wine, though he won't name his true master. In a twisted move, Alaric offers the dying man to Arya as a gift, telling her she can do whatever she wants. He is basically giving her permission to kill him. This absolutely sickens Arya and Cedric, but Arya isn't falling for it. She refuses the gift. Arya knows this servant was just a puppet following Alaric's orders from the very beginning. If she kills the servant, the prince gets off scot-free. Now pay attention, because Arya is about to flip the script. To reward her kindness, the prince offers her any wish she desires, and trust me, she isn't wasting this golden opportunity. Cedric is stunned as she approaches the prince. Alaric is surprised too, since she usually looks at him with pure disgust. But he shouldn't get too comfortable. Our girl has a very specific way of showing her appreciation for his little games. Before he can react, Arya grabs his wine and splashes it right in his face. The prince just sits there, eerily calm. Arya just smiles. Since he promised her anything, she explains that what she wanted most was to vent her rage on him. Alaric asks what he did to deserve such anger. Arya isn't holding back. She knows he tried to kill Cedric and framed his help. She is certain he is the one who poisoned the wine and is now hiding behind a servant's corpse to stay clean. She has plenty more reasons to hate him, but if she started listing them now, a little wine wouldn't be enough. Realizing she has seen right through him, the prince starts laughing like a maniac, signaling his guards to stand down for now. He just stares at her with this creepy grin. You saw that too, right? This guy is seriously unhinged. Cedric senses the danger and steps in, pulling Arya away. Alaric just laughs, boasting that they will never prove a thing in court. As they leave the room, a chilling scream echoes from behind the doors. Alaric just finished off that poor servant. Safe inside their carriage, Cedric admits he has never seen the prince show his true, twisted face like that before. He is worried about how dangerous Arya's move was. She knows she could have died, but humiliating him was worth the risk. The plan didn't go perfectly, and she nearly lost her head, but she couldn't let that monster keep his pride. Cedric warns her to stay alert and suggests she return to the safety of House Sterling Manor immediately. She refuses. After the poisoning, this isn't just his fight anymore. She is staying by his side until the very end. They begin planning their next move, taking the prince to court. They need hard proof to expose his true colors. If they can reveal the truth, the public will turn on him, and he will lose his grip on the throne forever. This trial will decide the future of the empire. Cedric remembers his past life, where he actually won this battle. In his previous life, Alaric invited him to a similar dinner, and Cedric managed to come out on top. But the emperor died shortly after, which shocks Arya. It means the transfer of power happened way too fast. She has a terrible feeling about this. She knows Cedric is about to go all out against the prince after the trial. She asks the biggest question of all. Did he actually become the emperor in that past life of his? Cedric looks gloomy, admitting he doesn't know. Arya realizes she might have touched on the part after her own death. She quickly takes it back, telling him they shouldn't dwell on dreams. All that matters is the fight they face today. The next day, Arya meets with Lady Lyra and fills her in on everything, from that nightmare dinner to the trial. Winning the case depends on one thing, finding the source of the poison, and Lady Lyra might have the answer. Her family is famous for their knowledge of herbal medicines, so she offers to help Arya track it down. Arya is incredibly grateful for the help. Just as Lyra leaves, Adrian enters the room with some interesting news. He mentions that Lyra's family was legendary, even producing an empress in the past. They have got serious influence. They shift focus to the court preparations, just as Cedric arrives to join the discussion on their strategy. With the servant dead, they need undeniable evidence that the poison came directly from the prince's own hands. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, you are going to want to see if they pull this off. All right, you and I are about to see if Ariel can finally get justice for those injuries in the High Court. They'll be untouchable if they prove the Crown Prince was behind it. Remember Killian? He was at the ball that day. While chaos erupted, he slipped through the panicking crowd and collected the broken wine glass shards to send to an alchemist. The expert found a poison called catarrhea, a lethal substance distilled from the roots of a rare flower found in the north. It only grows in desolate, frozen lands and is strictly guarded by a clan that has protected it for many generations. Since it's a deadly toxin, the clan would never share it lightly. They know the massive risk if something were to go wrong. They still don't know how Asa obtained it, but if the northern people realize it was used for evil, they'll surely help. Now watch closely, because this next move is the one that changes the game and brings the whole house down. Traveling north takes days, So Siegfried already has a trusted knight in mind, someone with the skills to handle this dangerous mission. Who else but Kilian? He looks sharp with that new style, and Ariel is stunned to see he remains loyal to Siegfried. She learns they actually fought together during the Eastern Wars. The prince gives Kilian 5 days to return with the vital evidence. Kilian must find proof of how the crown prince got his hands on that Cattaria flower before the trial officially begins. That afternoon, Ariel and Siegfried head into town for a rare date. He's worried for her, but can't resist her radiant happiness. They stop at a restaurant, but as they order, they hear the other patrons gossiping about the nobles turning on the crown prince. Rumors fly that the crown prince is being put on trial. Even the news about the poisoned wine reaching Siegfried is everywhere. It's a huge win that the public believes Asa is guilty. But the conversation soon shifts into much darker territory from the past. The patrons whisper old rumors about the late Empress's death, Siegfried's mother, and Asa's likely involvement. Ariel sees Siegfried's mood shatter instantly. People start noticing them, so they decide to cut their date short and leave the area. He leads her to a quiet spot to watch the sunset over the town. Ariel really needed this break from all the stress. They sit in silence for a while until Ariel asks about his ultimate dream. Will he really become the emperor in the end? Siegfried gives her another vague answer. When she asks if he gets a happy ending, he just looks at her with sad eyes. He says he isn't sure. All that matters to him right now is being happy with her in this very fleeting moment. I know what you're thinking. This is beautiful but tragic. And Ariel feels it too, comparing the past to the present. Meanwhile, Kilian arrives at the house of Aloes. He finds it suspicious that the main gates are already standing wide open for him. Inside, it's a bloodbath. Dead knights are scattered everywhere, and their bodies are still warm. The enemy was one step ahead of him. The killers took everyone out before they could talk. Suddenly, a man in a black hood steps out from the shadows behind Kilian. Surprisingly, this hooded man knows all about Kilian's past as a deadly assassin. He's been waiting for this exact moment. This mysterious man was waiting for him to arrive to make him a dark offer. Kilian, please just try to stay. Good. Back at the palace, Ariel's brother and the prince are buried in work while they prepare for the big trial. Despite the hectic schedule, Siegfried always makes time to check on Ariel. It's a sweet moment in the middle of all this chaos. Later that night, he gives her a surprise kiss and talks about his day. He's been visiting powerful allies like Viscount Epstein. He's managed to persuade many neutral nobles to join their cause. But Siegfried knows that Asa is going to play very dirty. If the crown prince uses tricks, Siegfried will answer with force. He's already gathering knights for a battle he hopes never happens. Even though he's prepared, he can't stop worrying about the trial. Asa has been unusually silent, which is never a good sign here. They expected him to fight the trial, but he's done nothing. It's making everyone suspect the crown prince is planning something truly evil. Siegfried leans his head on her shoulder, exhausted. When she suggests he should go rest in his own room, he gets visibly upset. He admits he misses her way too much to leave. Ariel blushes at his honesty and suggests he sleep in her room instead. Our guy is totally stunned. His face turns red as she teases him that he can even smell her scent in the sheets. He's too nervous to say yes, so she just drags him to her bed. He lies down, breathing in the scent of her. Ariel settles in beside him, and suddenly he's not shy at all. He becomes incredibly needy, asking her to hold him close tonight. He spoon hugs her, and they share a deep kiss before talking about the future they want to build together after the war. They talk about the day he becomes emperor, and she stands by him as empress. But Siegfried suddenly goes very quiet again. He's likely remembering that nightmare where Ariel is gone. Meanwhile, Ariel is already imagining their life with children in a peaceful palace. Trust me, you and I both want this for them. A life so wonderful they can age and die without a single regret. She wishes to leave this world with Siegfried in peace, wondering if he feels the same, but when she faces him. All right, you and I are diving into a sudden marriage proposal that feels more like a desperate plea for help. Once the dust settles, Ariella wants to marry him, but Cedric is so eager he wants it done right now. Ariella doesn't see why the rush is so intense, so she declines for now, leaving the prince visibly frustrated. He is acting incredibly anxious, and Ariella starts to worry about whatever dark thought is eating him alive. Everyone knows he is destined to take the throne, so his overwhelming concern makes absolutely no sense to her. But he claims he can no longer see the future, begging her to marry him before it is too late. Ariella stands firm, insisting they wait until the coming storm passes, but her refusal leaves him completely devastated. He leaves the room in silence, and that same night, Alaric wakes from a hauntingly realistic dream of her. Oh no, is the villain seeing his past life too? The next morning, Cedric is nowhere to be found. Ariella tries to figure out his sudden agitation, wondering if the meeting with the great houses broke his spirit. Now pay attention, because the strain of the coming trial is pushing everyone to their absolute limit. She wishes he would just talk to her, but the weight of the crown is a heavy burden to carry. With the trial starting tomorrow, she knows they will have to face each other in the royal court soon. Suddenly, a servant arrives with a massive gift, a room full of red roses that catches her off guard. She is confused why the crown prince would send gifts, while he is literally being put on trial by her. She reads the letter where Alaric implies they were lovers in a past life, which deeply disturbs her heart. Not even Cedric knows about the time reversal, yet this creep seems to have caught a glimpse of it. She is terrified Cedric will see the flowers and pull away, so she immediately orders the servant to burn them. The big day finally arrives, and the Eldridge family is dressed in somber black for their appearance in court. Stepping inside, it is clear the High Court is divided into two warring factions of the kingdom's powerful elite. On one side, Cedric's uncle from House Beaumont gathers the lower nobles and the prince's most loyal knights. The opposing side is packed with powerful families who have already pledged their souls to the crown prince. Ariella's nerves finally settle when she spots Cedric in the distance, a familiar face in a room of enemies. She takes her place in the center as the king enters the hall and finally ascends the high throne. Seeing Cedric's father for the first time, she is shocked by how frail the old man looks in person. The trial starts terribly when the king publicly insults her, claiming she is just chasing the crown princess title. You and I saw this coming. The king is completely ignoring her bond with Cedric just to save face. She feels a cold chill as their chances of winning drop, with the king himself attacking her entire character. Their chances of winning plummet after the king himself attacks her reputation from the very start of the hearing. Alaric makes a grand entrance despite being late to his own trial, and the king does not even care. After greeting his father, Alaric waves at Ariella like they are close friends, looking like a total creep. The king asks if he really poisoned Ariella's wine, which the crown prince promptly denies with a smug smile. Without asking for evidence, the king looks down at her, ready to end the trial right then and there. It is obvious he is just a puppet for his son, intending to disregard every single argument Ariella has. Cedric is furious at his father's corruption, while Ariella stays calm and starts calculating her next move carefully. They cannot beat the king's bias, but she can still humiliate Alaric in front of every single noble witness. She starts her act by weeping, describing the sheer trauma of nearly dying at the crown prince's hands. She cries about how painful it is to be accused of seduction when she was actually almost murdered instead. This finally catches the king's interest, making him question if she really does not love the crown prince. That is when Cedric steps in and boldly declares to the entire court that Ariella is his true lover. She lands a heavy blow, revealing the prince invited her to the selection despite knowing she was taken. Alaric flinches as she mentions the bouquet of roses he sent yesterday, which exposes his disturbing obsession. She continues her performance, making the noble ladies whisper about how insulting the prince's behavior truly is today. The ladies are disgusted that he would hold a selection while chasing a woman who clearly hates him. The ladies leave in disgust, and honestly, you and I couldn't agree more. Absolutely wild. Trust me, you and I are about to watch this obsessive Prince Alaric make things worse for everyone. He claims he is actually interested in our lead, after taking Lady Alara for their first dance. Lady Clara then stands up and causes a scene, claiming she heard the Crown Prince's secret plan. Apparently, Alaric promised Alara a guaranteed win at the upcoming royal selection ball. The mood shifts instantly, so Alara adds fuel to the fire by saying she rejected his advances. She claims he just won't stop, leaving the king sighing and the entire noble audience going wild. The herald has to scream just to get everyone to be quiet and remain silent while Alara hides her face as if she is still crying, waiting for Silas to reveal his trump card. She sends a look he recognizes, and then Lord Alastair speaks up, making a massive claim. Alastair explains they analyzed the poison, discovering it comes from a rare plant from the frozen north. One drop causes the victim to vomit blood and lose all sensation before they finally die. Silas adds that Alara could never get this poison, as House Eldritch strictly controls the supply. It makes zero sense for her to risk her life just for a prince's pathetic attention. Now pay attention here. Alaric demands proof, and Silas is more than happy to give it. He shows a letter from Killian, proving Alaric's servant bought the deadly plant before the ball. But wait, because the wine glass Alara used wasn't even hers, Silas claims there is a 50-50 possibility he was the target. The crowd leans in, as Silas reveals his brother sent countless assassins to kill him years ago. He sent countless assassins to kill Silas years ago, so this current poisoning attempt is no surprise. Alaric just mocks him for having no real proof, making Silas smile because the trap is set. He notes that most assassins were so loyal to the Crown Prince they killed themselves before talking. However, one man named Killian loved gold more than his master, making the room erupt in total chaos. The Crown Prince finally snaps, ordering everyone to be quiet before delivering his final piece of proof. Alaric provides proof that Silas forged the letter, using Lady Lyra as his key witness for this. Lady Lyra and Alara share a look before the traitor reveals her secret family connections. Her family works with herbs alongside House Eldritch, meaning they have a very long, close relationship. Lyra swears that Silas has the wrong family crest on his letter, ruining his entire piece of evidence. Silas grinds his teeth in pure rage, realizing that Killian has completely betrayed his trust. Silas is crushed because Killian betrayed him, while Lyra mentions another very troubling fact. Lyra claims House Eldritch has vanished, and Alaric blames Silas for murdering the whole family for silence. Alaric smirks at his younger brother, while Alara is lost in her own dark thoughts. She realizes the lady who was kind to her was actually a spy for the Crown Prince. Let's pause. Alara likely feels like this entire disaster is her own fault. Alaric has the upper hand, because Silas cannot explain the forged letter that ruined his case. The trial concludes with Alara framed for poisoning herself, just to help Silas expand his own royal power. Alara and Alastair are sweating, and even the nobles supporting Silas are starting to doubt him. The king asks Silas if this is all true, but Silas just stares back with piercing eyes. Silas snaps, fixing his piercing purple eyes on the king to finally challenge Alaric's bold accusations. Since Alaric claims this is about power, Silas demands an investigation into his mother's tragic death. After all, Silas's mother was of royal blood, making him the only legitimate heir to the throne. That statement stung the king, Alaric, and every noble currently sitting inside that courtroom. Silas shouts that when his mother died, Alaric gained power while the king chose to silence the truth. It is clear he has no one to trust in this twisted royal family of his. Silas demands to know the one responsible, forcing the king to stay silent and end the trial. Even though Alaric seemingly won the trial, he is shocked by his father's sudden decision to stop. The king gives him a look that makes him flinch, and we are left wondering what they plotted. All right, you and I are diving back into the treacherous halls of the royal palace, where secrets have teeth. The king feels terrible, and Lady Alara notices his troubled eyes, yet she acts as though she has zero regrets. She simply walks away, leaving the prince's trial completely fruitless and without any real result for either side. Still, failing is better than being charged with forgery. Back at the manor, Alara finds Cedric brooding on the balcony. It seems neither can sleep after their recent fight over his sudden proposal. The air between them is thick. Alara tries to break the ice, mentioning how their hard work was for nothing, while Cedric clenches his fists. He hates that he trusted Sir Julian, nearly costing them everything. Alara smiles, trying to lighten the dark mood. She tells him how brilliant he was, pressuring the crown prince and bringing up the late queen to save them. He was only ever told his mother had died, so he always wanted to ask his father for the truth. But he is no longer that helpless child. He refuses to stand by while they attempt to harm Alara again. Cedric then admits his previous claims of defeating 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 and becoming king in his dreams were all just lies. Pay attention now, because this is where his dark visions finally start making some actual sense to both of them. He confesses he could never see actual details. He sees nothing after the trial and the king's eventual death. This news stuns Alara, but his true intention was only to alleviate the deep despair they both were feeling. His dreams are dark. He cannot escape the idea that reality might mirror a future where she is gone. He honestly confesses he pushed for marriage only because he knew it was the one way to stay together. He proceeds to express deep regret, claiming he was totally wrong for putting so much pressure on her. Our grumpy young prince has finally matured. Alara believes it is also time for her to be truly honest. She reveals she is living her second life. Cedric has no idea how to react to such a claim. She begs him to believe her. She died in a previous life after drinking that poisoned wine for him. But he brought her back. Cedric's hidden powers granted her a second chance at life in this new timeline. This information is too much for the prince to process, but it clarifies his dreams are actually memories. They aren't predictions, but rather recollections of events from their past lives that his soul still remembers well. Although he struggles to accept his powers, it is now clear why he felt such familiarity with Alara. The mind may forget the details, but the heart will always remember the one it loved before. You saw that too, right? That absolute spark of realization that changes their entire bond forever. A dark thought strikes him. Not recalling anything after the trial likely means he died in their past life. Alara cuts him off, assuring him they have already changed the past, and she is the proof of that. Realizing there's no point in lingering on shadows, Alara reaches out and proposes they write their future together. He anxiously holds her hand, asking her to swear to remain by his side, no matter what comes. Our girl happily agrees. They share a beautiful kiss under the moonlight, and we love to see them communicate. The following morning, Alara opens her eyes to the soft sunlight coming in through the tall bedroom window. She finds Cedric already wide awake by her side. He immediately kisses her cheek with a gentle smile. It is like he was waiting for her to wake up just for that. Our girl is acting shy. She recalls their shared night. Cedric wonders if 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 ever touched her in their previous lives while engaged. She assures him the engagement was simply for show. She only let him display public affection and nothing else. Knowing that is a huge relief, Alara jokingly asks if he's jealous, and our honest guy says yes. He would get rid of 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 right away if he could. Cedric then expresses amazement at his inherited power. He has actually inherited the magic from his mother's bloodline. Alara recounts when he stopped time for her. She saw him freeze the world after she collapsed from the poison. He turned back time without even realizing. She tried to stop him then. This leads Cedric to conclude his abilities are not something he controls yet. It would be useful to show off his power, to prove he is the true heir to the throne. That is an excellent idea. Alara, his supporting wife, encourages him to start practicing his magic right away. Imagine if he could unleash those abilities whenever he wants. He would be completely invincible against any foe. But trust me, this peaceful morning is about to be shattered by an unexpected visit from a powerful marquis. All right, let's dive into the high-stakes politics of the royal citadel's upcoming grand tournament. Prince Siegfried explains to Ariel that this duel is a prestigious event hosted by the king, open to every noble house across the realm. Ariel is puzzled. Why host a festival when the kingdom's nobility is clearly divided by bitter political rivalries? She soon realizes it's more than a game. It's a brutal stage used to prove which faction truly holds power. Though she's uneasy, Siegfried promises to handle the situation, then tries to lighten the mood with a cheeky joke. He teasingly asks Ariel to share a bath, while elsewhere, the great houses gather for a heated secret meeting. The lords are debating the scandalous trial between the crown prince and Prince Siegfried that just rocked the court. Some are frustrated by the vague results, while others feel for Siegfried's mention of his late, beloved mother. Truth is, the first queen's death was never truly solved, and the king's favorite mistress now wears the crown. Since she took the throne, the palace has been eerily quiet, as if every move was planned years ago. The king's obsession with his mistress was so blind he allowed her to harm his own sons and queen. Karma is coming for them, but for now, many nobles are secretly shifting their support toward Prince Siegfried. He is the rightful heir by blood, a war hero who rose from nothing to lead a massive army. Meanwhile, the crown prince is losing influence, especially among noble families who fear for their young, innocent daughters. One noblewoman even screams that the current heir deserves his downfall. But pay attention, this struggle is far from over. Many still believe the crown prince is entitled to rule because he has the full backing of the citadel. From the High Council to the king's personal guard, his influence is deep, making this a truly lethal conflict. The lords know they can no longer sit on the fence. They must choose a side before the blood starts flowing. Speaking of the crown prince, watch this. He makes a sudden, unannounced visit to the king's private bedchambers. He scares the maid away with a single look, then stands over his sleeping father with pure, cold hatred. Grinning like a demon, he pours poison directly into the king's drink. Talk about a lack of creative villainy. Imagine getting caught for poisoning once, then doing it again the very next day. This guy is unbelievable. After trying to kill his own father, he casually heads off to a lavish dinner with Lady Lenore. He thanks her for the idea to send assassins north. You and I both know she's the real mastermind. He promises that once he is officially king, he'll fulfill his vow and make her his new queen. That's exactly what she wanted. Finally, the day of the grand tournament arrives at the royal citadel grounds. The sea of tents shows just how many knights have come to compete for glory and political favor. Ariel spots a tense standoff between Siegfried's elite knights and the crown prince's personal guards in the crowd. Her brother, Lord Alistair, greets them warmly. As her guardian, he notes how healthy and glowing she looks today. He teases that her cheeks look a bit chubby lately, probably from too many of Siegfried's sweet kisses. Ariel only hears the word chubby, so her big brother quickly takes it back to avoid her legendary temper. Honestly, seeing their sibling bond always warms my heart, but the mood shifts when Siegfried joins the conversation. They discuss the grim news of the king suddenly becoming bedridden, supposedly from the stress of the recent trial. Siegfried has seen the king's condition. He's so ill he can't even move. It's a race against the clock. He fears that if the king dies, the crown prince will seize power immediately, leading to a civil war. Cutting through the heavy talk, Ariel asks where her friends Millard and Claire are hiding during the festivities. Alistair points her toward their tent, mentioning that Claire brought her practice swords for the upcoming matches. Ariel steps inside the tent, and Claire immediately tackles her with a massive, emotional hug of pure joy. Thank goodness Siegfried isn't here to see this, because that hug is definitely a little too close for comfort. Ariel learns that Siegfried kicked Claire out of his personal quarters, leaving the poor girl feeling totally confused. Claire worries Ariel was bored alone, but thinking of her romantic nights with the prince makes Ariel blush hard. Suddenly, the trumpets blare. The grand tournament is officially beginning. It's time for the armored knights to clash. 𝒂𝒅 looks dashing in his silver plate armor as he asks his sister to fetch his blade. She happily agrees and slips back into the tent, but stops when she sees a mysterious, long-haired man. She approaches him, completely unaware that she's walking straight into the crown prince's trap. Stick with me for more. All right, you and I are jumping into the drama as Lady Ariel accidentally wanders into the wrong tent at camp. She ignores Prince Arthur completely, but she freezes when he asks if she is still running to Lord Siegfried this time. His cryptic words leave her wondering what he means, but he quickly closes the distance and grabs her by the wrist. He looks regretful for sending young Siegfried to the Ivy estate years ago, but Ariel finds his obsession totally illogical. They were never close in this life, so she can't understand why he is acting so obsessed with her right now. He snaps as if reading her mind, shouting that even though they were never together, she has always belonged to him. Then he reveals he has been dreaming about the two of them getting engaged, which leaves Ariel even more confused. Now, pay attention here. Arthur's mask is slipping, and things are about to get incredibly dark for our lead. This prince is a serious psycho who claims that in his dreams, they never married because she died for Siegfried. He actually blames Siegfried for her death, despite literally just admitting that he was the one who prepared the poison himself. The man is absolutely delusional, literally blaming someone else for a crime he admits he was going to commit right now. He gets closer, telling Ariel this is her very last shot to choose him before he officially becomes the next king. Once the king in critical condition passes away, and he secures the crown, Arthur plans to settle his final bloody score. His main goal as king, executing Lord Siegfried and everyone loyal to him. Honestly, this villain makes my blood boil. Ariel stares him down with pure disdain. She isn't afraid, and her answer will always be a resounding no to him. She storms out immediately, only to run straight into that treacherous fake friend, Lady Lena, waiting in the shadows. You and I both know this girl is trouble, and seeing her smug face is enough to ruin the mood. Lena has the nerve to greet her with a straight face, claiming she doesn't care if Ariel hates her guts or choices. Ariel confronts Lena with a pained expression, asking if all her past kindness was just an act performed on the prince's command. Lena stays silent, her hollow smile proving she is just another noble puppet blindly devoted to Prince Arthur's dark whims. She arrogantly boasts that she will do absolutely anything for him, making Ariel question if she is truly blinded by her love. Lena just laughs, stating her feelings won't change as long as Arthur remains the heir to the royal throne. She then asks Ariel if she would still love Siegfried if he were just a common country boy instead. Our leads have been through so much together, so this girl really needs to keep her mouth shut right now. Lena just scoffs, claiming that in the royal city, people only care about what they can gain from each other. She advises Ariel to be far more careful before dropping a warning that she should be terrified of her next move. Ariel isn't scared, reminding the traitor that she is a master with the sword and won't be easily intimidated. Lena just leaves with a suspicious grin, and finally, the moment we have all been waiting for is finally here. The nobility is buzzing with excitement to watch the two princes face off, Lord Siegfried versus the cunning Prince Arthur. The fate of the entire kingdom rests on this battle, and Siegfried is clearly feeling the immense pressure today. As the drums roll and the duel begins, Arthur quickly notices that Siegfried is rushing his movements and looking vulnerable. He strikes quickly, successfully slashing Siegfried across the face and causing our hero to freeze up in sudden fear. Siegfried has to close his eyes and find his rhythm again, focusing on his training to block out the terror. He pushes forward, managing to cut Arthur's neck and sending the prince reeling back as the tide turns. The crowd is on the edge of their seats as Siegfried closes in on his target for a final strike. Siegfried looks heroic, while Arthur remains as cunning and shrewd as he has always been throughout this tense royal duel. This battle will determine the morale of the two factions, and Siegfried feels the pressure as the drums roll out. They both swing their swords with lethal intent, but Arthur sees that Siegfried is rushing more than he normally would. He decides to attack those vulnerabilities, and he manages to land a clean hit by slashing across Siegfried's face. The sting of the blade makes Siegfried realize he is terrified, so he stops to center himself for a moment. He closes his eyes, takes a deep breath, and goes back to the regular sword routine he has mastered for years. He strikes back with perfect precision, grazing Arthur's neck and sending him staggering back as the crowd gasps in total shock. Siegfried is ready for the finish, but a knight runs out with news that stops the blade before it can land. The king has passed away. Trust me, you and I are about to see this story take a very dark turn as Arthur smiles. Everything is moving as planned, but watch closely. The tournament must be halted for what comes next. All right, you and I are about to witness a funeral where nobody is actually mourning. Trust me, it gets intense. Even though it was his own biological father being buried, Lord Siegfried did not show a single hint of grief on his face. She can understand Siegfried feeling resentful, but the crown prince, he just looks plain wicked standing there by the open grave. The Empress keeps reaching under her veil, but Ariel notices something strange. Not a single sob or tear actually escapes from her. Despite the massive crowd at the cathedral, it seems like absolutely no one is genuinely saddened by the passing of the emperor. It really shows how much of a failure he was as a leader. Suddenly, Ariel feels the crown prince staring her down. That intense gaze makes her skin crawl. Following the priest's orders, the two princes kneel to begin the final rites of passage. They kneel on opposite sides of their father's body, offering one last farewell before the throne is officially declared vacant. After the service, the nobles gather in small circles to gossip. With the emperor gone, the future of the kingdom is wide open. Ariel wonders if the crown will naturally go to Arthur, or if Siegfried will be forced to act. Will they just sit back and watch a tyrant ascend? Stick with me, because this power struggle is about to get messy. Her thoughts are cut short when she hears her brother and Siegfried whispering about a private meeting they need to have. Lady Claire approaches her looking pale and anxious. She is terrified that the wicked crown prince is about to take total control. Ariel tries to reassure her, promising that Siegfried will never let that happen, but Claire knows how dangerous things are right now. Claire worries about what might happen to them, but Ariel consoles her by saying it is far too early for such dark, worrying thoughts. Milliard steps in to help, mentioning that the nobles are already whispering about the emperor's sudden and very mysterious death. They all believe something fishy is going on, and Milliard thinks they will likely support Lord Siegfried in the coming conflict. It looks like a war for the throne is brewing. Honestly, I might start shipping these two if they keep this up. Siegfried tells Ariel that he and Lord 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 are heading to the frontier, and things will be hectic for a while. He orders her to return home and stay safe inside. Then, he leans in to whisper about a nightmare he had. It was dark and damp in a dungeon, and he wonders if it has anything to do with his past memories. Ariel smiles and tells him it was just a useless dream. He agrees, hoping it does not mean something worse is coming. She gives him a warm hug and wishes him a safe return, promising that she will be waiting and thinking of him. As the men ride off, Ariel tells Claire to prepare for their own return to the family estate back in the capital. But when the three of them arrive at the manor, they notice that everything is abnormally quiet and gloomy inside. The servants and maids are nowhere to be found. Ariel, Milliard, and Claire slowly make their way down the dark, empty hallway. Now pay attention, because this is where the ambush begins. You and I knew that peace wouldn't last for long. Suddenly, they are surrounded by masked assassins. Ariel's first thought goes to Siegfried. Will she ever see him again? The masked men close in, and the leader of these killers actually bows respectfully before addressing our heroine. He claims they do not want any trouble, but only if she agrees to come with them without putting up a fight. Ariel immediately thinks of the crown prince. He is exactly the kind of man who would always send assassins to handle his dirty work. Claire grabs her arm, begging her not to go. It is obviously a trap, and following them would be a death sentence. When Ariel asks where they are taking her, the leader stays silent. He will not reveal their final destination to her. However, when she asks if the crown prince sent them, he actually denies it. Well, that is definitely an unexpected twist. If it is not the prince, then who is behind this? Ariel cannot let herself be kidnapped like a helpless, weak maiden. She knows she is Siegfried's only weakness, and being captured would give his enemies all the leverage they need to win. Ariel begins counting the enemies. Whoever planned this was cautious, deploying more than 10 men just to capture one single woman. But they forgot one thing. Members of the Fritz family always carry a weapon. It is a tradition they never break. She playfully touches the hem of her dress and manages to snag a hidden dagger tucked away beneath the heavy fabric. It has been a while since we have seen our girl in action. Even 𝑺𝒂𝒗𝒆𝒅 is finally stepping up to the plate. He looks surprisingly stunning when he gets serious, pulling out his own blade to stand beside his sister in the fight. The siblings are powerful, but Ariel knows they cannot take on 10 trained killers alone. She needs a much better plan right now. She quickly devises a strategy to escape the mansion alive. 𝑺𝒂𝒗𝒆𝒅 launches the first assault, catching the assassins completely off guard. Ariel follows right after him. She delivers a heavy kick to a man's shoulder, forcing him to drop his sharp blade. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see how she handles that stolen blade. All right, stick with me because an ambush has begun, and Ariel realizes these assassins are holding back. It is clear they have strict orders to bring her in alive and unharmed, which gives her a slight advantage. She is not about to make this easy, though, and she begins a lethal dance with her sharp blade. She looks stunning in combat, pushing back mercenaries who cannot believe a noble lady fights with such deadly skill. If she can defeat monsters, these men are nothing, but the commander starts searching for a weak link nearby. He is worried she might actually win, until his eyes land on Claire, who is trembling and unable to fight. He chuckles at such an easy target. It does not take long before Ariel hears a terrifying scream from her friend. By the time she spins around, it is too late. Claire is already held captive with a blade at her throat. With Claire as a hostage, he demands Ariel surrender, right before the window behind them suddenly shatters into pieces. Now pay attention, because everything changes here. Standing there is Killian, the man who would do anything for gold. Even if he is charming, this greedy mercenary is the last person she wants to see. He just smiles now. Ariel demands to know who sent him, wondering if the crown prince finally realized his other men were not enough. Killian just brushes it off, explaining his contract with the prince is over, but she still has to follow him. He points out that 𝑺𝒂𝒗𝒆𝒅 is exhausted, and Claire is held at sword point, leaving Ariel with no other choice. While Ariel is weighing her options, she fails to notice that Killian has already closed the distance between them. He strikes her hand, forcing her to drop the sword. He knows Ariel is not the type to negotiate with. He offers a quick apology before striking her neck, knocking her out cold in a single, efficient blow. Who gave him the right to smile while attacking? Our poor girl finally wakes up in a strange room. As she tries to move, she finds her hands and feet are tightly bound. These guys are clearly terrified. As she struggles, a familiar voice startles her. It is Lady Lena, standing right there in the shadows. Ariel demands to know where they are, why she is tied up, and why that traitor Killian is there. She soon learns they are currently inside the palace of the crown prince, and she is a gift brought for Princess 𝒂𝒃. Lena touches her face with a smirk, confirming that the prince still has a very dark obsession with her. Okay, I know what you are thinking. This girl is completely out of her mind. Is she not jealous? Ariel ignores the madness and asks about her brother and Claire. Killian claims they both managed to escape safely. But he is a man she can never trust again, so she doubts his words until Lena finally steps in. Lena confirms he is telling the truth, revealing that she was the one who actually ordered this entire abduction. She specifically ordered them not to hurt anyone, leaving Ariel in shock because she never expected such a wicked and cruel scheme to come from Lady Lena herself today. She assumed the prince was behind it, but Lena admits with a grin that this was all her own idea. Lena promised to hand Ariel over to 𝒂𝒃 in exchange for being crowned the next empress of the kingdom. She is treating Ariel like a mere object. This lady is clearly just as delusional as Prince 𝒂𝒃 himself. Meanwhile, Prince Siegfried is in a meeting when one of his knights bursts in, gasping for breath with news. They have vital information from Millard. Siegfried's face turns pale with horror as he hears about Ariel's kidnapping. Despite the terror inside him, he stays composed and orders the man to finish his report immediately. He learns about the assassins at the estate and that Killian is the one who took Ariel away. Siegfried slams the door in a rage, regretting that he did not kill that mercenary when he had the chance. Knowing Killian is now working with 𝒂𝒃, he tells his advisors that the plan must change right now. He tells everyone that he will be altering his plans due to the abduction of his beloved Ariel by the crown prince and his army. He slams the table and declares this a formal proclamation of war, a move that his commander fully supports. They agree to launch their attack without delay. A massive war for the throne is about to ignite. Trust me, a massive war is breaking out, and Siegfried must now prove to the kingdom that he is the one true ruler. We can only hope everyone stays safe as 𝒂𝒃 walks into Ariel's room, looking at her like a prize. He stares at her like some rare treasure he finally caught. Ariel tries to persuade him to let her go. But this is exactly what the twisted prince wants, to see how Siegfried reacts when he finds she is captive. This monster is clearly hellbent on starting an all-out civil war. All right, you and I are about to watch a war between brothers that has turned absolutely deadly. Prince 𝒂𝒂𝒅 reaches out to touch her face, and his gaze looks even more twisted than ever before. He is losing patience with Ariel constantly rejecting him, and now it looks like he is ready to kill. Ariel shivers in terror as he suddenly laughs it off, claiming it was just a joke before letting go. He gently pats her head like a pet, calling her his human toy and promising not to hurt her. It is revolting. He pulls her into a hug, swearing she belongs to him and he will never let go. Ariel is left speechless. Before he leaves, the prince mentions that today is the day Siegfried will be executed. Siegfried is to be executed. Now alone with Lady Lena, Ariel still cannot believe the madness she just witnessed. This obviously is not love. Ariel tries to wake Lena from her delusions, pointing out how insane this is. She kidnapped a lady just to impress a man who shows her no affection, which is just beyond bizarre. You saw that too, right? She kidnapped a lady for a man who doesn't even like her. It's insane. Lena just laughs it off. She insists her love is absolute, even if it means doing terrible things for him. Pulling off her elegant gloves, she reveals a deep, jagged scar across her wrist as proof of her devotion. She is so obsessed that she is willing to bleed for him. They truly are a match made in hell. Ariel cannot understand a single word she is saying. So, Lena decides to share her family's dark history. Lena shares her story. House Kylo has ancient roots and places extreme value on high-born grace and status. Generations ago, a crown prince fell for a Kylo daughter because of her legendary and overflowing noble elegance. She became empress and brought the house massive prosperity, making them feel like they were the most important family. But when that empress died, the head of the family fell into ruin and succumbed to heavy alcohol addiction. The family lost its glory, along with the elegance and status they were once so very famous for. Every successor since then became obsessed with restoring their name by elevating their daughters to the position of empress. Lady Lena was one of those children, trained to work tirelessly so the future prince would notice her. In her search for perfection, she lost her true self just to become the refined lady her family demanded. She lost her true self just to become the perfect, refined lady her family demanded she be. Watch this. She watched her sisters get forced into marriages with wealthy families after failing to capture the prince's heart. She swore she would not end up like them. When she finally met him, she tried to flaunt her grace. But the prince simply crushed her frail wrist under his boot, claiming that she got on his nerves. She tells the story lightly. She does not care if he is violent, only that he makes her empress. She wants to end the cycle of her house and acknowledges she only loves him for his royal title. I get that her entire family is toxic, but this is definitely not the right way to handle it. Meanwhile, Sir Siegfried's army marches through the night, heading straight for the crown prince's massive mansion. He spots the same bird from earlier hovering above them, realizing the creature has been tracking their every move. With one clean shot, Siegfried brings the bird down. A knight retrieves it, finding a pouch in its beak. Siegfried reads the letter inside. It says he must come to the annex alone to save his beloved Ariel. With one shot, Siegfried brings the bird down. A knight retrieves it and finds a small pouch in its beak. He gets a creepy feeling about the pouch. When he opens it, he finds a blood-stained brooch inside. Realizing it is Ariel's, he immediately orders his men to follow his lead as he charges into the estate. Back at the palace, Ariel is alone. She uses a lit candle to burn through the ropes binding her. She works quickly before Lena returns. Finally, the rope snaps, and she is free to move around the room. She looks for an exit, but the window is far too high to use for a safe escape route. She starts to panic. It is her first time in 𝒂𝒅's palace, and she is completely lost in this maze. She is so focused on planning her move that she fails to notice Lena creeping up behind her shadow. That wicked lady strikes Ariel in the head, sending her crashing down to her knees in pure agony. Lena drags her back, screaming that as a member of House Kylo, Ariel's own will simply does not matter. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see how she escapes this. Inside the chambers, she's telling her that as a noble of House Sterling, her will means nothing, and that, wait for it. Lena is convinced she must become the Empress by any means necessary. She believes this is her only path. The nobility always chases fame and fortune, but she knows House Kylo is in for a rude awakening soon. That throne does not belong to them. They are a fallen house from 100 years ago, yet no one realizes it. Any woman born into this family faces a dark destiny, and honestly, you and I can see she just wants it to end. Back in the room, Ariel sees her opening and strikes Lena with a heavy blow before grabbing a nearby candle holder. She uses it to block Lena's sword, but Lena is no match for a warrior as skilled as Ariel. A girl raised for grace simply cannot compete, and Lena crashes to the floor, driven by sheer, frantic desperation. She is so close to her goal. Handing Ariel to the crown prince is her only ticket out of this hell. Escaping her family fuels her entire scheme, so she rushes forward and clutches Ariel's hand with everything she has. She is dead set on trapping Ariel, forcing the girl to defend herself and send Lena flying toward the window. But wait, watch this. Lena grabs Ariel's skirt with a twisted smile, swearing that if she dies, they both go. She is pulling Ariel down with her, just as the Imperial Knights gather outside to wait for reinforcements. They wait for Siegfried's troops to reach the Crown Prince's palace as the first sparks of battle ignite. Siegfried leaves 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 in charge of the warriors, while he heads off alone to track down Ariel's location. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 sends him off with a heavy heart, hoping they will both survive to see each other once the dust settles. That kind of talk always worries me. Let's hope these two actually make it out of this civil war alive. Meanwhile, Ariel is lucky enough to snag the window rails as Lena falls, narrowly escaping a lethal drop. She pulls herself up with ease, thank goodness, then looks down and sees the once delicate Lena shivering in terror. Lena is barely hanging on, clinging to the rails for dear life to avoid plummeting to the ground below. Their eyes meet, but Lena refuses to scream for help, while Ariel is already worried about her safety. Leaving her would mean certain death, and even with all the pain Lena caused, you and I know Ariel's heart. Flashbacks of Lena's betrayals flood her mind, but she simply cannot let the girl die on her conscience. This girl tried to ruin you just to become Empress, but bless your heart, Ariel, you are too good for this world. She rips down the curtain and tosses it to Lena, urging her to hurry up before her strength gives out. Lena looks up with overwhelming guilt, grabs the fabric, and slowly hauls herself back up into the room. Breathless, she faces her savior, She just can't understand why Ariel would ever choose to help her. Ariel explains that despite everything, she isn't cold enough to watch someone die right in front of her. Lena is speechless as her eyes widen in shock, and Ariel continues with a very hard truth. She tells her that becoming Empress won't fix her life or free her from her family's crushing pressure. It's time for her to wake up. That title won't save her from the fate her house has built. Suddenly, noise erupts from outside, and Ariel realizes that Siegfried and his troops must have finally arrived. Before dashing out, she tells a completely exhausted Lena to stay put because she clearly can't move. Lena stays silent as she watches Ariel bolt out the door, her entire world finally crumbling around her. She has no idea what to do next. Karma is finally catching up, and it's not looking good. Ariel rushes into the hallway, but stops dead when Killian appears with that same suspicious, creepy smile. She panics, realizing she's completely unarmed against him, but then Killian says something that catches her off guard. He actually tells her to proceed, because his contract with Lena only covered the kidnapping itself. He is not getting paid a single copper more to stop her now, so he's stepping aside. Ariel just looks at him with total disgust, calls him out for being materialistic, and hopes to never see him again. Siegfried and his knights reach the dungeon mentioned in the note, but they find the place deserted and cold. They move through the silence until they hit a dead end, when suddenly the entire room begins to shake. The walls begin to shift, and Siegfried is suddenly cut off from his men as the room rearranges itself. He is trapped on one side, while his soldiers are stuck on the other, leaving everyone completely disoriented. His knights are frantic, but he orders them to find another exit while he investigates this strange chamber. He spots a terrifying iron chair, and trust me, you and I aren't going to like what happens next. Stick with me, we're witnessing a nightmare as the prince stares at these torture tools, paralyzed by a haunting sense of familiarity. His head throbs as brutal memories of agony flood back, remembering the exact chair where his previous life came to an end. He realizes with horror that these are the final moments of his past life, reliving the dark torment that ended his soul. Prince 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 enters with a wicked grin, knowing that Siegfried has finally recognized this chamber of horrors as his own deathbed. This is the exact dungeon where 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 once broke him, the very room where he dragged his brother's life into the cold darkness. Imagine a chair lined with jagged spikes. This lunatic is pure evil, even if Siegfried doesn't fully recall the physical pain yet. 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 knows his brother's body remembers the trauma as Siegfried trembles, but there is one mystery the prince hasn't solved just yet. After Siegfried died, time reversed, yet 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 remembers it all, leaving him wondering if his brother intentionally triggered this reset of reality. Siegfried is too distracted to listen, instead demanding to know the location of Lady Alara as the tension in the room explodes. 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 just laughs, sneering that Alara is locked away and that Siegfried will perish tonight, never to gaze upon her face again. Meanwhile, Alara changes into oversized armor and seizes a blade from a fallen guard, her eyes burning with a desperate, fiery determination. Looking out the window, she searches for her prince, rushing to find him and prove that she has survived his brother's trap. A knight spots her, and she recognizes him as a vassal of the House of Stirling, who reveals Siegfried went to the manor. Her heart sinks as she realizes the prince is walking into a lethal ambush, lured by lies meant to ensure his demise. Realizing 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆's cruel game, she sprints toward the royal manor, praying she can reach her beloved before the executioner's blade falls. Now back at the manor, Siegfried fights for his life, while 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 mocks him for being weaker than in the tournament. The villain arrogantly demands a real challenge, unaware that the weight of the past is currently crushing his brother's spirit and his blade. But the truth is Siegfried is paralyzed by the physical memory of the torture he endured in that dark, previous timeline. The room itself is a weapon against him, his body failing as primal fear takes hold, making every swing of his sword sluggish. 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 reveals he has also regained his memories, claiming that in the last life, he was the triumphant heir to the throne. He believes he would have been a great king if Siegfried hadn't rewound the world, stealing away his perfect victory and his crown. Siegfried shouts that if he dies now, time might reset again, rendering all of 𝒂𝒅's schemes for the kingdom of 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 completely useless. But 𝒂𝒂𝒅 doesn't care. He has noticed that Siegfried doesn't actually control his gift, seeing him as a victim of a cruel fate. He mocks his brother, knowing that a master of time wouldn't be shaking in terror while facing his past killer. Siegfried tries to bluff, claiming he can reset the clock if he falls before coronation, asking if 𝒂𝒂𝒅 wants to kill him forever. Now pay attention, because the villain's next plan is insane. He wants to harvest the prince's blood to steal his divine power. He believes the power of time is in the royal bloodline, and plans to drain every drop from Siegfried into his own veins. Even as Siegfried stares in disbelief at the madness, 𝒂𝒂𝒅 just smiles, ready to perform his horrific experiment on the royal family. The lunatic doesn't care if the plan fails, laughing like a madman as their blades clash once more in the dimly lit hall. Siegfried is losing ground, battered and broken by the trauma, as the echoes of his past agony cloud his every defensive move. You and I both saw this coming. Our girl arrives just as the villain prepares to land the finishing blow. She saved herself, and now she's here for her prince. Let's go. The royal brothers are stunned by her sudden, violent entrance. 𝒂𝒂𝒅 is shocked that Lady Elinor couldn't keep her prisoner, having foolishly viewed Alara as a fragile prize rather than a warrior. But she's no victim, charging at him with her blade drawn while her eyes remain fixed on her injured and bleeding prince. As she exchanges heavy blows with 𝒂𝒂𝒅, she begs Siegfried to focus and use his power to heal before his strength fades completely. 𝒂𝒂𝒅 just mocks her, knowing his younger brother is powerless to command the flow of time as he launches a fierce assault. Even with her incredible skill, Alara struggles to match the sheer speed and raw brutality of the crown prince's relentless sword style. Siegfried watches in despair, realizing he still cannot grasp the secret of his ability while his love fights to protect his life. He forces his mind to be still, trying to reach back into his past memories to find the key to his royal inheritance. Closing his eyes, he reaches into the void of his soul, desperate for a breakthrough as the world around him begins to blur. Suddenly, he's standing in a golden realm of his subconscious, where he meets a mysterious man dressed in ancient, royal robes. The figure laughs when asked his identity, pointing to his crown and the regal power radiating from his spirit within this vision. He reveals himself as the founding king of the ancient realm, returned as a spirit to guide his descendant through the shadows. So you and I just witnessed the real mentor step in. Trust me, this royal power-up is about to change everything. He explains the terrible price of this gift, that manipulating time will slowly erase the prince's memories of the life he left behind. All right, you and I are about to see what happens when those lost memories finally return, shattering the seal on his godlike power. This force reacts to danger on its own, but to master it, he needs to truly embrace his destiny as the rightful king. Since these divine gifts favor only the true bloodline, 𝒂𝒂𝒅 must believe in himself, yet the weight of his past still holds him back. The previous king understands his doubt, knowing the brutal torture 𝒂𝒂𝒅 suffered under his brother's cruel hands within the palace dungeons. But he also reminds 𝒂𝒂𝒅 that he alone carries the sacred royal blood. He pats him on the shoulder, telling him to finish Arthur. With a reassuring smile, he sends him back to the living world to reclaim his crown. This ancestor is a better father than his own. 𝒂𝒂𝒅 returns, resolving to be the king and refusing to let his dark past consume him any longer. It is finally time. He closes his eyes as a brilliant purple light flows from his hand, instantly restoring Alara to full health. The real battle starts now. Ready to unleash his true potential, 𝒂𝒂𝒅 charges toward Arthur, but the corrupt prince is already on guard and ready to strike back. Arthur realizes his brother has finally reclaimed his divine authority. 𝒂𝒂𝒅 simply explains that he was merely holding back this whole time. As they trade devastating blows, Arthur is cornered and staggered. 𝒂𝒅 seizes the opening, cutting him once, then again, cleanly beheading his rival. 𝒂𝒅 rewinds time, resurrects Arthur, and murders him once more. He is making sure his brother feels every ounce of that agony. Trust me, you and I are watching someone truly make the most of their time manipulation powers here. Arthur wakes up for a third time. Drenched in sweat and trembling with pure terror, Arthur has the nerve to call 𝒂𝒅 a psychopath for this endless cycle of death. 𝒂𝒅 just stares him down, remembering how Arthur killed 𝒂𝒅 twice and sent 26 assassins after him. Now, it is finally payback time. That means 28 rounds of kill and revive torture. You can only hear 𝒂𝒅's heavy breathing and his blood-dripping blade. In the silence of that chamber, 𝒂𝒅 finally approaches to ask if it is over. 𝒂𝒅, looking completely drained, confirms the nightmare is finished. They would not celebrate death, so 𝒂𝒅 just holds his arm as they gaze at Arthur's cold body together. The longest night of their lives is over, and the two victors finally walk out of that dark chamber into the light of morning. 𝒂𝒅 mentions how dangerous it was for her to stay, but he is stunned when 𝒂𝒅 explains she was just keeping her word. She promised back in 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒆 to always come running whenever he needed help. 𝒂𝒂𝒅 blushes, realizing she never forgot that vow they made. He gives her a heartfelt hug, confessing that her words back then were the only thing that kept him going and made him better. 𝒂𝒅 only said it on impulse years ago, and cannot believe how much those simple words changed the entire course of their lives. Through tears and joy, 𝒂𝒂𝒅 declares she does not have to save him anymore. Now, it is his turn to make her happy. One kind remark really can change everything, so let's all try to be more thoughtful. You never know who you might end up with. Through tears and joy, 𝒂𝒂𝒅 declares she does not have to save him anymore. Now, it is his turn to make her happy. One kind remark really can change everything, so let's all try to be more thoughtful. You never know who you might end up with. Anyway, news of Arthur's death and 𝒂𝒂𝒅's ascension spreads like wildfire across the kingdom. Hearing his name makes 𝒂𝒂𝒅's blood boil, but the man fled. Now watch this, that is some serious unfinished business. I hope he lives a better life now. They then look at Lady Lillian being dragged away by the king's soldiers. When she learns the crown prince is dead, she loses her mind and laughs uncontrollably. 𝒂𝒅 watches her with a heavy heart. After listening to her story earlier, she understands how lost Lillian must be. Being the queen was her only dream. 𝒂𝒂𝒅 plans to execute her, but 𝒂𝒅 intervenes and whispers a specific punishment: exile and the loss of all her noble titles. When she learns the crown prince died, she becomes frantic, laughing uncontrollably at the sky. 𝒂𝒅 watches her with a heavy heart. Having heard Lillian's story, she understands how lost the girl is. After all, being the queen was her only goal. 𝒂𝒂𝒅 plans to execute Lillian, but 𝒂𝒅 whispers a better plan. 𝒂𝒂𝒅 plans to execute Lady Lillian when 𝒂𝒅 intervenes and whispers the punishment she has in mind: exile from the kingdom and the total seizure of her family's wealth, even though it shocks her. Lillian manages to thank 𝒂𝒅 as the guards drag her out. Finally, she has the freedom she wanted. Now her only challenge is life as a commoner. The queen is the last person 𝒂𝒂𝒅 must punish. 𝒂𝒅 is surprised to learn that 𝒂𝒂𝒅 just intends to keep her imprisoned, despite her role in his past. Given her link to his mother's death, it seems 𝒂𝒅 was mistaken as the queen perished in the tower. Locked in the tower where a fire broke out, just like his mother, 𝒂𝒂𝒅 intends to head for the palace. He heads for the palace immediately, so 𝒂𝒅 says she will return to her family manor to rest. You and I just witnessed him win. You are not leaving the king's side, my lady. The next day, 𝒂𝒂𝒅 and 𝒂𝒅 visit his mother's grave, the one person he wishes to inform that he has finally done it, having thrown away the darkness. All right, you and I are about to witness the epic finale of a truly legendary royal revenge journey. Siegfried finally took down the murderers who stole the throne, but he still feels completely hollow inside. He misses his mother's beautiful smile and the way she would have been so proud of him today. He remembers her kindness, and how she always encouraged him to find a love that would bring happiness. Looking at Ariel, he tells his mother's spirit not to worry because he's finally found the one. He is ready to spend the rest of his life with her, fulfilling the wish his mother always had. A week passes, and the coronation day arrives, with the new emperor looking absolutely dashing with his haircut. Ariel still has to scold him, though, since he almost walked out to the ceremony without his cape. He seems a bit out of it today, but Ariel notices his excitement for the upcoming royal crowning event. Now pay attention, because this cathedral is about to host the most unforgettable moment in the whole story. While the Pope conducts the ceremony, Ariel gets confused because Siegfried just cannot keep his eyes off her. Once the crown is placed, and he is proclaimed emperor, the entire crowd starts chanting his name wildly. He suddenly lifts a hand to quiet everyone and walks straight toward Ariel with a very serious look. Our girl is nervous about what he's doing, but then he drops to one knee with a ring. He always wanted to propose once he became powerful, and he definitely chose the most public way possible. Ariel is completely embarrassed, but finally understands why her man has been acting so giddy and cute all morning. You and I both know he'll keep his promise to make her happy through thousands of shared future moments. With a radiant glow, Ariel joyfully accepts his proposal and reaches out for him to slide the ring on. He carries her to show the world that he intends to cherish her with the utmost care forever. Everyone is celebrating, from her proud brothers to Claire, who is crying happy tears on the other side. The lady who once avoided the throne and the young boy who blocked her path have finally found peace. It just goes to show that whatever is meant for you will always find its way back home eventually. Seeing the greedy finally punished, and our leads finding true joy is exactly the perfect payoff we both wanted. And that's where we leave it. You and I just witnessed a perfect happy ending. Wild, right?